All right, guys, we're back. I'm just slowly unmuting everything, getting things set up and good to go, because as you can see, we are loading into the next series. This is a fresh best of 5 Snute versus Ryung. As they update the title of the stream. And again, big shout-outs to Jesse for being a beast. It's so cool that we've got the sponsors getting involved with our chat, guys. And we, of course, have other fun things planned out. Jesse, in all of his glory, plans to challenge me to a show match on the finals day. So on Monday, we're going to be playing a best of series where not only are we going to be playing against each other, Zombiegrub's going to be helping him with a little bit of coaching at the same time. So that'll be a pretty fun match, and I'm just hoping not to embarrass myself is what that comes down to. Truth be told, I don't know if I know how to play this game anymore without Archon mode. Like, I'll just be like, okay, Zombiegrub, macro. Oh, wait, shit, I'm playing alone. Ah, build an SCP! Of course,
I bet you would.
Jesse is in chat. If you guys have any questions about TING, about the sponsor of this event, feel free to ask him. He's been very open about many different things. One of the coolest things that people have been asking is like why they got involved with BaseTradeTV in the first place. And guys, I'll let him answer that. But make sure to check out bttv.ting.com if you want to learn more about TING. They're a U.S. mobile phone service. So the sad thing is it is only available in the United States currently. But they do have some great deals over there, and they're hoping to save you some money. And, of course, the big part of this for them was targeting, like, their target audience, if you want to think of it that way, are people that are on Wi-Fi all the time. That's Twitch viewers. It's perfect. So hopefully this will benefit you guys. Now, that being said, let's get into the series. It's fresh. It's brand new. We'll talk about the money aspect in a moment. But before any of that, spawning in the top right side of Lilac Crest, playing for MVP, it's the Teal Terran Ryung.
In the bottom left, as the red Zerg, he is Liquid Snute.
Now, of course, the last point to bring up for TING, guys, we have a goal of 40 people signed up and using for TING. And if that's the case, TING is going to give us another $5,000 tournament. A season 2 of this, if you will. But the problem is we're only at 35 right now. So I'm hoping by the end of this tournament we will see 40. We're damn close. And the nice thing is there's not really a time frame on that. Like, that could happen tomorrow, that could happen a month from now. But whenever we get 40 people signed up and good to go for TING, we'll get to see some more awesome StarCraft 2 come from them. Of course, these guys have sponsored Shoutcraft America in the past with Team Liquid, Nathanius as well with the big 2v2 tournament last year. They're all sorts of cool when it comes to StarCraft. But that $5,000 prize pool comes from them, and this is where we talk about money for the players. Both Snute and Ryung are guaranteed to walk away from this tournament with $100. That's the least amount of money they can make in this tournament. However, the winner of this series will move on to the semifinals, where the bare minimum is $400 there. So this best of 5 match is worth $300 for each of these players. One person walks and advances, the other's knocked out of the tournament forever.
Yep. Forever.
Every time I say forever, I want to go like the Sandlot with it and be like, forever.
Oh, I prefer the echo in my mind. Ever, ever. Yeah. So this should be pretty good. We already saw an upset last series.
Yeah. If it happens again, by the way, it'll be Snute versus Mana in the semifinals. That Team Liquid team kill. But
that's coincidental.
Do you want to tell these guys a little bit about what was going on with the pregame banter, I guess?
Oh, sure. I mean, there's... so first of all, I suppose, we do have Snutes opting just to stay on North America Central. So we've been giving everyone the option of, like, coin flipping for, like, EU, Korea, for instance, for the last 2, and no one wanted to take that, which no one has so far. And then it was like, okay, well, it's going to be East Central, just like we did last time. Snute was just like, nah, my ping is actually worse. It sucks for Koreans to play on East, so let's just stay on Central. So that makes my job easier. I don't have to like stress out about changing the server priority. And then he was also talking about a little bit about Polt, messing up versus Pulse, and studying versus Ryung.
Right. So
we actually have a couple of links going in here. Cheeky.
Ryung studied, inadvertently admitted to studying Snute and his games versus Polt and just IEM in general. And then Snute gonna say, "No, it's okay. I studied you too, Ryung. Like I know, got some stuff in my pocket for him." So that's kind of cool to know that this really was something that they did both prepare for. This wasn't just like, okay, I'm showing up to play and hoping to get some money. What I love about Snute and Ryung is they are pretty invested in the game. Snute is this player who consistently talks about like how he loves the weekly events we throw because those are his best practice sessions, right? And Ryung constantly, since before joining MVP, back on Axiom, like he's been a big part of our community. He's been involved with a lot of things like the Alima League, and just again, he's that extra level of involved with BaseTradeTV, and I love both these players. So, while I'm not rooting for anyone in particular, truth be told, I am just straight up 50-50 on this. I would be happy to see either of these guys get through. It's going to be good. That's for certain.
Yeah, I would put these guys pretty even now that Snoot's been on the up and up and doing really, really well. You know, I had that game versus Paul at IEM, but he's just been looking better and better. And Ryung just looks leaps and bounds better than he was in Heart of the Swarm. He was actually definitely slumping, and slumping so long, it was getting to a point where it's just like, Ryung, I mean, I know you're trying, but I don't know, is like retirement coming soon? And then, like, being on a professional team, Legacy of the Void, it all gelled with him, and he looks really good. He did not get here because he had easy matches, or it was a fluke, or he was only good against one race. Now he's been good against every race.
Well, we're going for the melee upgrades for Snute. This isn't so surprising, but it is worth noting because a lot of the times we're seeing a lot of this mid-game Roach Ravager play, and I'd say on Lurlac more than most all-ins. But the spawn locations may be playing a little bit into the factor of this. I do want to point out that Snute has some pretty fantastic late game. We've seen a lot of players who, I think, in early leaps of Legacy of the Void, they're like, cool, I got Ultralisk because I made them and I won. So they didn't really learn how to play that style properly. But people like Snute, we've seen take the extra step, getting things like Broodlords. We see always that complementary force of Infestors or Lings to go with said Ultralisks. So if it is the goal of late game and not mid game, where Snute decides to focus on, say, Mutalisks and Banelings instead, I already know and have confidence he can play that well.
Yeah. So we saw Rogue yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Go for the mid game a lot more, and that actually surprised one of the Terrans that played, Polt, I believe.
Yeah, Polt getting knocked out by Rogue in the losers match was insane, by the way.
Yeah, it was. But against Rogue, he actually played on this map too against Rogue, and it's just, you know, the pacing of facing someone who's sticking on Mutiling Bling versus someone who is transitioning to Roaches or who is trying to get to a hive really quickly in Ultras is much different. So Rogue is really playing a different style, even though it's exactly what it was in Heart of the Swarm. It's only different in the timing.
Yeah, sorry, I want to correct what I said. Sorry, knocked down 2 at the losers match by Rogue. I think he actually lost in the losers to Nurchio, right?
Right, yeah.
Right, yeah. Sorry, phrasing that wrong. I'm going to have somebody call me out on it.
Yeah. But it was just really impressive. Now, Snute isn't sticking on Mutiling Bling, but he's not being as greedy as Nurchio is. We actually had really interesting, I guess, two very different Zergs last night. One who went for fast ultras every single time, and the other going for some serious, like, Mutiling Bling mid-game. And, well, Paul did fall down, but
gave some of his energy to Ryung in form of a Viking. 3 kills.
Yeah.
Not bad. Snute has a lot of Banelings. Speed's not done yet. He's going to have the capability to make more, but he is, the emphasis here, going towards that hive tech. So for him, it's not important to actually take engagements out in the open unless they're on creep and opportune. Like, he really is just trying to stay back, chill, and get that hive tech rocking and rolling.
Yeah. And he's doing, I mean, he's getting to a point where it's like, okay, even if Ryung pushes out right now, Snute should be well prepared for it and shouldn't be dying before his ultras are out. Combat Shield's just finished for Ryung. He's pushing out with just a force that is basically going to clear up creep. It doesn't have any of the splash with it. Just maybe a Banshee that's been hovering over the middle of this map for most of the game. It does cause Snute to panic a little bit and realize that maybe he needs more Banelings, so he makes 16 more. He has a very big bank, though, so that's not really taking away from his Ultralisk. Little supply block is more worrying, but again, Ryung's not pushing out. Ryung was so good against those late-game Ultras, and he looks like he's almost like, not like eager to face Ultras, but comfortable against it, where usually other Terrans are like, oh, gotta win now or I'm dead.
Well, that's the Banling count. Really nice. 2 weapons going to finish up in a moment. And Ryung, his army is back here. So, like, what he's got in the field is cleaning up creep, and that's all it's really intended for. But let's talk about the next step of the game. So, Ryung is going for a lot of tanks, and we've seen some instances where tanks are fine against Ultras, but it is worth noting that Ryung was the guy doing a lot of Marauder-heavy play. We didn't see a lot of Liberators. We didn't see a lot of tanks. No Ghosts. It was Marauders, Marauders, and more Marauders. And I don't know, it's going to be really interesting to see whether he can hold up to Snute's Ultra Tech, because right now it is Marine heavy and not looking great for him, to be honest. But if he recognizes this soon enough, he should be able to produce in time.
Yeah. I mean, it is about producing that Marauder counts for Ryung specifically, too. Like, for anyone else, it'd be like, well, he's got to start Liberators, and Marauders can kind of help. But...
Oh, no, he doesn't have a lot of tech labs. His Marauder count's going to be jank.
Yeah, which is very odd. He's also putting 3... No, those are all check labs.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go. He needs these. Yeah.
Right, so he's going to get that Marauder count up higher, and he's going to be able to focus fire. Tanks are also not too shy in the numbers, which is going to be nice. They are a nice addition, nice splash.
I'm just going to interrupt you real quick. Call me back. Your mic's getting a bit weird. Sorry, guys. I just don't want to keep going on for like another 20 minutes. So I'm going to clear up, but... All right, Moshi Moshi.
Hello. It's actually all of my computer.
Okay, well, you sound fantastic now, so we'll leave it as is and worry about fixing it after. We get the attack commencing. That's a hell of a lot of banelings, but unfortunately, they're kind of open fire for these tanks. 36 banelings in total. Ryung's got a pretty nice spread of units. It's going to be really hard to actually use said banelings. But even if the ultras spawn, and there are 6 on the way, the question really remains, will there be chitinous plating in time or not? Snute is going to have to deal with a little bit of lag from Ryung, most likely, as it is Ryung who's been lagging out in a lot of the games we've been playing. Bit of a hiccup there. Balin's going to start rocking and rolling in, get a decent hit, but once again, we get a bit of stutter. Hopefully this doesn't hurting the players.
Yeah, I know. It's, does not look so good. Snoot's starting to stabilize. He has a counterattack set up, but he's losing his 4th base, potentially.
What is it? These aren't even drop over there.
Yeah, okay, I thought that was a counterattack, but that's a counterattack of Overlords. Not so good.
All right, Banley's connect on the right side. Fantastic. Ultras start clearing out on the left. The tanks go down immediately, and Snute comes in with a force not to be stopped. Ryung loses his entire army. Now the question is, did killing a 4th base warrant those losses? Because Snute now diving across the map, looking to get a bit of payback. Maybe on the planetary, maybe just pushes through the choke, but... Truth be told, Ryung does not have a fantastic setup. As long as there's a wall up, it's hard for the Ultras to fight, but once that wall goes down or he pushes out into the open, it gets a little bit scary. Liberators being produced 3 at a time. We'll see if that's enough to hold on to this game, but Snoot's composition, as long as he doesn't over-dedicate, yeah, he's recognizing this is the time to fall back. He's not playing too greedy. I love this. This is so smart.
Yeah, this is the mistake that Nurchio was making. He was diving on top of the planetary and then getting sniped by the mass Marauder counts. Now, oddly enough, Snute has an upgrade lead, which is not supposed to happen. The Terran's almost always going to have that 3-3 for some time. Yeah. And that's quite a big benefit for him, but it's only if he's able to take advantage of it, of course. As he pulls back, that's going to give Ryung to calm down, get the Liberator count up. Ryung's army supply is still good. Even though he got just absolutely pushed back in the middle of the map, it wasn't a complete dismissal of his army.
He didn't lose any medevacs, which is why he's able to freely produce 4 Liberators at a time. This is a pretty big factor going forward, too, because if he had to replace those medevacs from that fight, we wouldn't see the Liberator count be what it is.
Yeah. So a 3-3 is almost finished up for Ryung, and he has a 5th base on the way. A lot of Liberators, too. Does he have Liberator range? He's not even going to bother getting it. Actually, I can't remember if he bothered getting it versus Nurchio.
No, we really didn't get to see much Liberator play, period, because Nurchio was actually doing great with the Ravagers and knocking them down, and truth be told, the game was either over at that point, or Ryung was, I don't know, it was a very different series being played out over there. So we may get to see Liberator range today, we may not. Drop does pick off a base, so nicely done out of Ryung as he continues to be active on the map. Snute does establish the base here in the bottom right, but this clump of red in the middle of the map is a lot of Ultralisks.
That is a very scary army, but, you know, it's missing a couple of key elements. The Lings will have to get that surround because Fungals aren't going to be around. No Queens for Transfuse, but more importantly, no anti-air for the Liberators or those medevacs. I just think the medevac count's also very scary. Finally, have the Spire go up.
It is going to be difficult to take a fight, though, for Ryung still. Like, it is going to be like that leapfrog of the Liberators moving forward that are going to eventually let him take a fight. But that's the thing. It's going to be slow. It's going to be steady, and it's not going to be easy. The other thing about this, too, is, okay, well, we have Ghost Academy coming up. Again, a lot of questions are going to be asked today about, like, how does Ryung handle this? Because we only saw him use Marauders, and he actually took out Nurchio pretty handily with said Marauders. This time around, as we see, that's not going to be enough. Snute has got control of that late game. Corruptor's starting to come out. But what's really important is he does have a lot of these Lings. Now, you might be thinking, Lings, Riffy, what are you talking about? They soak hits from the Liberators. Every cooldown that a Liberator uses on a Ling means that Ultralist gets closer to the army. It connects to the Marauders. It kills SCVs. But I am worried that Corruptors won't cut it. Ryung's going to have what was Gumiho levels of stupid-looking Liberators. And, like, all of that splash is going to destroy Snoot's small Corruptor count. Because Snute has so much army on the ground, he can't make enough Corruptors to actually be threatening.
I'm starting to get kind of worried here, actually, about my computer.
Oh.
I may have to just leave this game, just in the off chance that it's all going to compile and I'm going to drop out during a...
If you got to do it, do it. Just be safe than sorry. Because we did see that stutter in that last fight, so...
I'm not sure if that was me, because it's been happening only in the last minute or two, but it is worrying.
That was probably Ryung, if we're going to be honest, because Ryung was lagging out a lot last time we cast him, but Are you going to tap out or not? Okay, she's gone. All right,
Yeah.
so we're just going to try and solo Yellow Castles. Good luck fixing your stuff. Go restart your computer. Be safe, my friend. But while this goes on, we got Banshees coming out next. Cloak being made. I thought this was going to be for the Ghosts. He's actually going to be getting Hyperflight Rotors, which is really awesome. Most likely, after he's got this. I thought for certain that Fusion Core was going to be for Liberator range, but if that is going to be for Hyperflight Rotors, then Ryung, I've got the biggest crush on you right now, man. Widowmines are not positioned to take this fight. That Ultra count is ridiculous. He's sitting on 16. But once again, the problem is with so many Ultralisks in play, there's not nearly enough spare supply available to make things that are useful. Now, it is going to be Liberator range. There's no reason not to get this on top of it. But the reason the Banshee is really awesome is because, again, as Zombie pointed out before she left, there's been a very stark lack of. There's no Ravagers to shoot up. There's no fungal growth catching this clumped-up Liberator army. It is going to be things where the Banshees can probably get away with some nice and awesome damage. Let's not forget, air weapon upgrades have been invested into while this goes on, and Banshees do some of the highest damage in the game when it comes to damage per second. Maybe not each shot fired. We all know that goes to the Liberator with, like, what is almost 100 shot damage per shot. But hoping to distract on the right side and moving on the left, Snute wants to really get on top of one of these bases, but with planetaries all over the map, it's really difficult to do. It's worth noting, though, Snute does have money, and as he gives away some of the supply, it's almost a good thing to do. So he does knock down a planetary. He's going to kill some SCVs. This is nice, because another base on the right side, Corruptor's coming to try and finish it off. He does catch Ryung a little bit split between two different locations. But again, the emphasis kind of goes, if Snute loses out on supply, that's not such a big deal. He actually needs to clear some of this up. We got Vipers coming out next as well. Parasitic Bomb's going to be fantastic when dealing with Liberators. Both of them are going to have splash damage. But there's that upgrade I was looking for, ladies and gentlemen. Hyperflight Rotors. Oh, yeah. This makes Banshee so fast that Overseers actually can't keep up with them when it comes to detection. And while I don't imagine we're going to see 4 or 5 Banshees chasing around Ultralisks too commonly. It is the fact that you can run by each of these bases, pick them off pretty easily, and keep on going about your business, go about your day. So it's got a lot of Spore Crawlers coming down. This might actually be for real, but this might also be so you can get that supply cap. You build a bunch of Spore Crawlers, squeeze out a couple more units, and then cancel them out and go back to mining. He doesn't have the craziest drone count of all time, but keep in mind, it's Legacy of the Void, and these guys are mining on like maybe 2 bases, 3 bases each. So about 55 workers is fine for saturation, as everything here is starting to become exposed, expired, and gone. Back at home for Ryung, though, he is sticking with his guns. He's going for that +3 weapon upgrades. Liberators are going to have some very serious damage. Frankly, actually, the Vipers may not be enough. There's going to be this weird dynamic where Viper Abducts may be better depending on how this goes. Because those Corruptors, they can't take a head-on engagement. The splash damage is going to be insane. This is how many Liberators dealing. That's 24, 9 damage, times 2. So, I'm never going to do math on stream, guys. That's just going to be ridiculous, and the Corruptor's going to melt. Not to mention, there's going to be Widow Mines underneath this as well. There's not a lot of ground army, though. So, if Ryung gets broken on the ground, it's going to be very difficult for him to move these Liberators around enough to take a decent fight. Now, there's about 6 Parasitic Bombs locked and loaded. 7, excuse me. And that splash damage is not to be underestimated. It doesn't deal a lot initially, but it's the fact that you're going to hit all the units. Oh, God. Left side, we got those Banshees coming in. Spore Crawler is actually not too fantastic because Banshees have upgrades. Again, 14 damage a shot. That's going to be hard to deal with. EMPs land on the Vipers, though. Oh, shit. Snute was relying on this. Now, as he starts to back away from the fight, the Corruptors do start taking on the Liberators one at a time as they inch forward, but he can't ignore these Banshees. They're going to kill the Ultralisk Cavern. They're going to kill everything. Liberators sieging up en masse as the Ultralists decide to push on through. I don't know that Snute realizes he got hit with that EMP, as the Liberators are going to take out all the Corruptors, and he's got no Parasitic Bombs to work with. Ultralists almost getting trapped in here. In fact, they are going to get trapped in. Oh, he's going to lose so many Ultras on the way out. Oh, God damn it. 100 damage a shot on full upgrades, 95 currently, but he's almost at full. Meanwhile, lost the Ultralisk Cavern. Banshee's bleeding him out back at home. That EMP out of Ryung may have been the single best thing he did this game, because that shut down all of those Parasitic Bombs. It shut down the potential of Blinding Clouds. Those Ultras didn't stand a chance, and now Snute, he is being forced to use up that bank, and he's not able to max out. He just doesn't have the money to do it. Much less, well, he's actually had a lot of larva, but now he's a little bit hungry on larva too. Decides to head up north. A lot of these Ultras still pretty battered and injured from that first fight, but there's a Liberator sitting up here. There's turrets all over the place, a planetary fortress or two as well. As Ryung, who was originally trying to expand to the top left, starts going to the bottom right. But this is going to be a tough game for Snute to win. The army supply's maxed out. He never dealt with those Banshees properly. They did way too much damage to him back at home. Now, the nice thing is, well, EMP landed on those Vipers, and it hit all of the Vipers. I mean, that wasn't like, okay, he had to burn 5 EMPs. Like, that was just a great EMP out of Ryung. Vipers do have that consumability, which makes them the best units in the game at getting energy. Now, if Snute can land a ton of parasitic bombs, Ryung doesn't have a lot of money in the bank. He is maxed out with a very expensive army that is going to be very difficult to replace. Once again, we look, there's a very little amount of bio in play and a lot of very expensive units. Now, for some educational purposes, I guess, Parasitic Bomb was nerfed from 90 damage to 60. So while the area of effect is still pretty good on this ability, it is worth noting that it can't deal with Banshees as well as it used to. You used to be able to just throw down 2 Parasitic Bombs and it would kill Banshees. Now you actually need 3, unless you get that splash damage magic going on. But hitting even just one of these, it stays on them. That's the thing. You don't have a unit that moves fast? Yeah, you can't keep up with these Banshees. These will both die now. Well done, handled out of the Snute. 2 Banshees go down and they don't get ridiculous damage like the last ones. But he's still in a lot of trouble. He's not mining consistently. He's not mining comfortably. He's trying to get a base up over here. Drop comes down, gets cleaned up. But look at the income tab for Ryung, guys. For the last 10 minutes of the game, Ryung, just dominating. And that's not random mule spikes. That's just him having all the bases on the map when Snute can't expand. Very little has stayed the same since Heart of the Swarm. It was Zerg players that were in these situations before. But that's a lot of Vipers, and as long as he doesn't get hit with that massive EMP, Parasitic Bombs are going to be fantastic. I cannot stress how good those are going to be in some of these situations. Lings are not bad either. They're fast enough to dodge out of most of the Liberators. They've got the Adrenal Gland upgrade. They've got +3. The problem is, though, they can't contest the planetary fortresses, which Ryung is being quite liberal at making all over the map. So no way for those Lings to get in there and do that damage. Get to some of the units in the top left. That's not too bad. You know, Snute can't really afford much. He is trying to get that Ultralisk Cavern back up, which he lost earlier. I like that he puts it at his new base, because if he loses this base, he's pretty much out of the game. So this is the biggest point of contention. He wants to save the mining on this base, but he's also going to want to save the tech here. So putting all of his eggs in one basket isn't so bad, because he has to keep the space alive. Now, of course, once the Liberators gets cleared out of the sky, there's a couple of Vikings to worry about, but that's, again, where things like Broodlords and stuff might become interesting. Holy God, range on Liberators is ridiculous. I'm a Terran player, and even I am having trouble grasping what's happening here, folks. But Liberators, while sieged up, can't shoot up. So that's going to be pretty important for these Corruptors to whittle in on the side. The Ultralisk Cavern goes down. He squeezes out 2 more. The base is going to fall. And Snute says, screw it. I'm not taking your army. I'm going to make you come to me. Does force a reposition. But those Ghosts are going to be looking for those EMPs. He's clumped up. He spreads. He realizes this could be a threat. This could be a problem. 1 EMP lands, but it's not enough. It's going to stop some of the Parasitic Bombs, as it does take 125 energy. But he's still got more where that came from. Corruptors pushing that front line. Viking's going to take a fight, but Snute's got to back away from this. He wanted to go in on the right side. He's got those Lings, but he needs the full might of his army to take on his opponent, and Ryung is landing those EMPs once again. Snute's got less than any. He can't cast a single Parasitic Bomb, but he does take out a lot of the Liberators and forces a lot into anti-air mode. Throws away a lot of his army to do so, though. And once again, that supply count for Snute is looking grim. Ryung doesn't need a lot of units. I actually really love this Banshee production coming out of him. He's going to get Cloak for the Ghosts. I thought he got Cloak for the Ghosts earlier. I guess that's just the Banshee Cloak. But without those Parasitic Bombs, there's no way for Snute to fight. And I gotta say, those EMPs have been key to him winning this game. At least with the strategy Snute's doing. And let's assume Snute did play a different strategy. Let's say he did go for, say, Infestors. Let's say he went for the combination of Fungal Growths and Ravagers with Corrosive Biles. Same problem still presents itself. Liberator range being ridiculous, EMPs zoning out the units. It's not an easy game to fight once you get this deep into it. And I do commend Snute. He's playing his heart out. He's trying his best here, but Ryung... Oh, he traps him with mules! Oh, this is so cool out of Ryung! He traps in the Ultras. Now they're going to die. The Banshees get the hits, farms them inside that little turret ring. Oh, Ryung, that wasn't even BM. That was just 6 strats. GG! Ryung is going to take that game and start this series with a nice 1-0. But to report on Zombie Grub, apparently Windows 10 is completely screwing her computer over, and... that's not good for us. She's still offline trying to take care of it. I need to go update the players. Hey guys, we need to take a small break. CG computer is dying. All right, so once again, it's great to have Zombie Grub back. Her computer lives. I hope. Did you see the end of that game? Did you see what Ryung did at the end of that game?
I didn't.
He caught Snoot's ultras with a mule drop between turrets, like a net. It was so sick.
That sounds cool.
All right, so Zombie Grub, we're going to do the intros. We can talk about your woes afterwards, but I quickly got to give some love to some subscription and donation action. Windows 10 donates $5 and says, please consider following ZG Gaming and Rift Kings on Twitter. Also, Nerf Terran, Skynet rules. And then Brothy just subscribed. Brand new sub hype! Woo! Thank you so much. But ladies and gentlemen, as we get into this second game for the TING Open, this is the round of 8. This match is worth essentially $300, but of course even more as we get further into the tournament. And spawning in the bottom left side of the map, he's up 1 game. It is MVP's Ryung.
In the top right, as the red Zerg, he is Liquid Snute.
All right, so tell us the tales of woes, Zombie Grub. What happened with your computer?
Okay, so PSA for anyone who's going to get force upgraded to Windows 10. I quickly Googled a solution because I was like, is my computer overheated and what's happening? So I checked performance and he was using 99% of my memory.
What? And
I was like, that can't be right. Like, what the hell is happening? So I Googled it, and apparently if you don't upgrade your killer network suites, which is like the internet thing, it sucks up all the memory. So I had to restart twice, and now I'm checking it and making sure it's not bumping up. It's at 28% usage, so that was stupid and totally unnecessary, but thank you, Windows 10. So yeah, I was getting literal sound would compile on itself, so I would hear you talking over 50 different gun blasts and ultras that were attacking 10 seconds ago. Like, it was the worst.
That is so weird. I mean, I've been scared of the Windows 10 upgrade for a while, so I'm now very paranoid things like this may happen to me. When I got home from that night, trying to come back from the power outage, I did update it manually, because I knew it would force update me the same way it did for you. So I'm hoping that maybe my manual choice.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you were willing to comply, so we'll show some leniency.
Well, because when I also got force upgraded, I also had trouble with the USB drivers, and I had to make sure to go in and make sure everything was updated because Windows didn't auto update to the latest version of itself or whatever. Like Windows 10, but not like 6.2, So I thought that fixed it, but no.
Well, it's worth noting, by the way, guys, we were trying to figure out what was going on during that last game, and we're really not sure who was at fault for some of the stutters. Of course, there was the question of Zombie Grub. I really do think it was more of Ryung. No offense. Not trying to defend Zombie Grub here, but it is just the fact that Ryung has straight up lagged out of games, just yesterday even. The MVP house in general has proven to not be too reliable. In a lot of instances. So regardless of who or what, let's just hope nothing else happens. It's a smooth ride through, because Snute was pretty hung up on that moment in the game. And I don't blame him, because it was a pretty influential fight that went down when there's a bit of that control. But that game ended up going pretty strong in favor of Ryung for a lot of different reasons than that one exact moment. But late game Terran is pretty hard to break. Zerg in general, it's funny. They got all the buffs to their late game, and for the first year of the beta, nobody really knew what to do against late game Zerg. It was just kind of like, oh, if Zerg got the hive tech, they won. Now we're seeing a lot more people start figuring it out. We're seeing Liberators be tweaked and changed and nerfed and buffed, and all these sorts of ways to actually play this game out. And on another map like Dusk Towers, Orbital Shipyard, or Lilac Crest, these are all games that could go to the late game. Now, I mentioned before as well, I feel very confident in Snute's late game as well, and I don't think it was misplayed. Ryung just played a lot sicker. Because had Snute at any point landed those 7 parasitic bombs instead of eating EMPs, Ryung would not have stood a chance. So, again, there's a lot of ways that, because both players played so well, it wasn't that somebody played badly, somebody played way better.
Totally agree. I actually didn't see most of that game.
I mean, how often do you see 7 Vipers get EMP'd, right? Like, that doesn't happen too much.
It sounds like it looks like a really cool game, because I had a internet up for a second before I started all those restarts, and I saw something looked cool. But hey, speaking of cool, we have a all-in really from Snute here. Went for a lot of roaches that was it was unscouted, which was really key. Despite having a Reaper, Ryung did not see any of this, but now he does, obviously, and it's going to be floated with Lings behind it. But Snute is prepared to macro. I mean, you have excess minerals basically, so you always are going to get this third base. But that's good news for him if it doesn't work out.
Okay, so there are going to be 2 bunkers, and this is kind of annoying, but there's high ground. Oh, wait, killing his own roach. That's a problem. There's high ground vision, actually. Oh, shuts down one of the bunkers. This is huge.
Nice.
Depot breaks. He's going to start pushing through this. Once the SCVs go down, there's nothing left to stop it. Lings will just come in through the backside. And while this bunker's a great defensive location, The Lings are actually going to get on top of this in a situation they normally wouldn't, so the bunker falls. Snoot's got a lot of roaches, and this all in looks so freaking dangerous.
Yeah, it does. He's reinforcing with 20 Lings. They're coming a little bit late.
He's pretty much out of units, though. Ryung, that is. He's really relying on SCVs to hold this, and they can work versus roaches, but as the Lings come, that's going to be more problematic. Stim does get to finish, but there's no units left to benefit from it, and all of that supply and army is in production. If these roaches kill the Hellions, and there's no Hellions to deal with Lings, that's going to be game. Snute brings back this series, tying it up 1-1 very early on here. And thank you, Mr. Cherish, by the way, for the 14-month resub, but that game went a lot quicker than expected.
Yeah, but really nice choice from Snute to go with that build.
Now we are going to be getting into Arena next, so I'm going to set up the map for this. I am curious, because Snute, I made a joke earlier, like a little bit more Snute, a little bit less TLO, but Snute is not someone who's afraid of trying different strategies. While he might not be going for the burrowed banelings on the front lines as often as, say, other people, he is someone who very well knows how to play that strategy out. That was a bad example, because Snute actually uses burrowed banelings all the time, and he does it fantastic, so I should have referenced something else. But the point of it still goes, I wouldn't count queen drops out on this map. I wouldn't count anything out on this map, because Snute, I think one of the things that makes him such a good player, the reason he finishes top in tournaments, second place IEM, first place in Chinese events, is because he is so good. He's got so many builds in his pocket. He's not someone who sticks on Roaches and Ravagers and can only play one style.
Oh, looks like they are ready to go.
Roaches and Ravagers would be scary on this map too, just as an FYI. But here we go with Arena. We'll see you guys here in just a moment for game number 3. Alright, game underway. It is map 3 for the TING Open, a $5,000 prize pool provided by TING, a U.S. mobile phone service for the United States. Make sure to check them out at bttv.ting.com. That way they know you came from us. Plus, you get $25 in credit. And if anyone does sign up for TING and you forgot to cash in that credit, you can message Jesse and he will apply it retroactively to your account. He's done it for several people already. And I know we've had a couple people in chat today even say they're already on TING, so if you guys could share your experiences, again, good or bad, we'd love to hear them. But let's get into the game. Map number 3, spawning in the bottom left. He's coming from Korea. They're playing on North America. It's going to be the blue Terran player, Ryung.
In the top left, as the red Zerg, he is Liquid Snute.
By the way, again, a small good guy shout out to Snute, saying Central's not a problem for him to play on. He's opted to make this so Ryung doesn't have to play on East, which was, without question, the worst place for Ryung to play. So, whether that's a good or bad strategical choice for the matches, that's up to you guys. But, again, Snute is one of the more upstanding players there in the game, so the fact that he's willing to yield server priorities, pretty noteworthy.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he was... I mean, it was probably a good idea to actually play a little bit if you know you're going to be on a different server to see what your ping looks like, although it changes, like, hour to hour.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like he knew. He was like, yeah, I got this on East, and West is just unplayable, but Central was actually pretty... Like, he knew to the numbers for each one and didn't have a problem with it, so... It's not entirely selfless, but he is a pretty damn good guy. Now, this is Arena, and you already went over a few options, as we usually do, of course, the cheesiness and whatnot, but Roach Ravager is where the game is going to end up, no matter what it starts off with. Stu was actually the guy that did the Mass Queen defense on this map. I want to see that again.
Yeah, actually, that's funny. I had forgotten about that, but the second you mention it, immediately my mind goes to Queen, 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 like the 5 or 6 he had in that giant concave. Because, well, we talk a lot about Zerg on this map, because let's be honest, Zerg are the ones who make the decision on Arena most of the time. Terran, once they got a siege tank in this location, sieging up this base, the game goes under their control. And it was Snute with... It wasn't just that it was a lot of queens. They got health. That's cool. It was really the fact that they had all those transfuses to boot that made that such a great game to watch.
Yeah, it was just a really cool game in general, and then you had queens on top of that ended up being just the perfect response to the tanks that were, you know, had to be put all over the place because a lot of things were happening in that game, a lot of counterattacks and drops and whatnot. Poorly Informed subs for 3 months in a row.
What is that, kind of like a BaseTradeTV caster or something? Oh.
What?
Because he's poorly informed.
Ah.
Thank you for the 23-month resub, man. Good to see so many big... We had the 30-month, 21-month, 23-month. Like, it's so good to see so many people have been around for so long. It's one thing to like trick and swindle people into subbing, like, hey guys, we're gonna do a $5,000 giveaway. You just gotta sub to the channel in order to enter it. But like, it's another to have them keep coming back month after month after month. So thank you guys for that continued support. We got a starport coming up pretty quickly out of Ryung, and it looks like we're gonna have that tank drop in that really annoying spot. We'll see if Snute can deal. He doesn't have a phenomenal amount of queens, and the fact that he's dedicating creep spread and injects means he's not gonna have energy for transfuses either.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't have an amount of queens yet. He is getting 2 more, so he's going to have 2 extra for creep tumors. We'll see if he adds on any more after that. With 3 bases, he is going to be at the just purely defensive, but it's not that this push is going to be like unbeatable. It's going to be mildly obnoxious. What are you laughing at?
We got TING Jesse, of course, the sponsor of the event, hanging out in chat. Mana calling him out on his Protoss gameplay video that we had shown on the stream, saying, I can't believe you got supply blocked on 70 out of 70. Like, of course, that's what a pro player would take from that video, right? Not that there's like this really cool amateur player and a sponsor play. It's just like, I can't believe you got supply blocked 70 out of 70. Disgusting. You would never beat reality. I'm putting words in Mana's mouth here, guys. 100%. He's just having some fun. He's a good guy, but just
he might
funny.
be Gumiho with all his supply calldowns.
Yo, for real, you're making jokes, but that would actually happen. I feel.
Yeah, I mean, who's gonna take like a platinum Protoss seriously? Gumiho's gonna mess up.
Yo, I actually at this point I can't even fathom who's gonna be in the finals of our tournament. It's gonna be so fantastic either way. But Gumiho and Mana are the only players who advance to the semifinals, but they are on opposite sides of the brackets, of course. So. Be interesting. It'll be interesting. Again, if Snute wins the series, we'll have foreigners on one half and Koreans on the other, which is kind of cool. Or maybe even Masa. It's so stupid to say, but Masa might be able to beat Rogue.
That would be really, really, really impressive, but it would be funny to have Gumiho as the only Korean.
All right. Liberator gets taken out pretty damn quick. The Queen's, of course, got to break that medevac more than breaking the tank as she abandons ship. Leaves the Marines to die, pulls that Queen back, transfuse, nicely done. And Snute's showing us how it's done. He's been doing this since Heart of the Swarm. His heavy Queen openers, they almost always succeed.
It's so the Queens are good. I love Queens. And you can just show like 3v3 and 4v4 matches that I do to know that I love Queens. But to actually utilize them in a game past Wings of Liberty, mind you, like, you know, mass Queens get into Broodlords really quick this early on, is so surprising, but it is something that he only does on this map that I've seen anyways. And it works out pretty well.
You could do me a favor and not go ahead and tell everybody about my anger with Windows 10 in the chat. That'd be great. Like, you guys don't understand. Like, Zombie Gum, if she didn't witness this, I feel like I'd be a crazy person. But she would sit there and watch me mute the sounds on the computer. Like, system sounds muted, 100%. Nope, loud as hell. Every cast we did in Toronto, I felt so bad for this stream because the sounds were blaringly loud in everyone's ears.
Well, like, you know, some guy was like, I keep hearing people say that it's bad, but they never say why it's bad. And I'm like, well...
Go watch any of our casts from December.
Yeah.
Almost like once per game, there's something blowing everyone's ears out.
Yeah. There's other issues I guess you can have, but mostly it's just being forced upgraded, not expecting it. It's like, you know, having to fix your computer when you didn't want to, basically. And I didn't want to. I had things to do.
All right, so the attack here on the bottom left, or sorry, I guess bottom right, or however you want to call it, the bases, doesn't go too well. He was hoping to get a little bit more damage with his slings. The game's starting to ramp up a bit as we got 1-1 finishing here momentarily for Ryung, but it has been a little bit slow as there's been a bit of contest here in the middle of the map. Snute trying to take creep spread, Ryung trying to take tanks. But if I recall, Ryung, if it wasn't Ryung, somebody was able to really abuse Ryung at some point. By using the rocks in the middle and just finding him, like, you know, sieged up, ready to fight, take a good fight in the middle of the map. Psych, I went around and caught you off guard.
That was Rogue. That's how he won first place.
That was Rogue. Thank you.
Yeah. But yes, that's a very good example of what could happen in this game. Now, the difference is the Snute's going to have a lot of supply and 11 queens. So he has 8 extra queens. Well, 7 extra queens, actually. He's a 4th base now. To do whatever he wants, whether that's creep spread like a mofo or transfuse his Ravagers for days, it's up to him. His creep spread isn't, you know, it's actually kind of difficult as it is such a high pressure, like constantly battling. It is going to be hard to get that massive creep spread on this map, but he certainly has replenished, you know, energy for more creep tumors.
Queen hit squad, looking to snipe that medevac.
You go, girl.
I mean, it's funny because Marines really aren't that great without that medevac giving them the heals. So pushing this back isn't too problematic afterwards. Again, he's really queen heavy. This is how Snute likes to play. I almost like this because this will give him more transfuses for the ultras later on as well. But If you could detach your camera real quick. The bot appears to have died, and I need to go check on this because we got some bets running for the series I don't want to lose. So, Zombie, I'm getting the camera for a moment, guys. I will be back. Oh, it broke. Okay, well, just for a second, deal with the tilted camera, guys. I'll be back one moment.
Oh, well, that's too bad. I did go off with it. I guess it was stuck on too long. So more creeps spread off to the right side. Now this might seem a little bit useless because, I mean, how often do we see engagements on the right side? But this game is going on for longer than most arena games, and it's very possible a creep teamer right here could spot a couple of key drops or repositioning of Ryung's army. Now dealing with medevac drops not too problematic because there's nothing else really happening. You know, it's usually not ideal for Terrans to only have one drop or one push out on the map, and it wasn't difficult for Snute to clean up. But his hive is not as fast as it could have been, but it's still pretty fast. So Ryung still has a couple more, maybe like 1 or 2 more minutes before he has to deal with either a Greater Spire or an Ultralisk Cavern. I'm not sure which one Snute's going to go for, but... Oh, he's going to go for a push?
I really like this bunker on the front line out of Ryung. By the way, checking the bets as I restarted the bot. Not restarted, sorry, turned it back on. 23,000 on Snute, 24,000 on Ryung. So quite a high-stakes series, but a very even one, surprisingly. I think a lot of people feeling the same way I was going into this. But Snute, I just want to point out, like, he is on Hive Tech. He's got Greater Spire coming up. I love these Spine Callers if they're intentional, and it looks like they are, so not just like a weird supply cancel trick, as he does set up a bit of a defensive line. Not to mention having 1 to 2 of these per mineral line does kind of guarantee you that safety from drops, or at least the time to respond to said drops. Trying to get those predictive hits, not going to happen, though. And this base is a little bit naked right now. Actually, Snute's not mining from this at all. Huh.
Interesting. He transferred his workers to the 4th base. Now, this is probably because he wants a safer third, as a safer mining base as the game goes on, as opposed to depending on things as he goes farther and farther to the right side, especially since he's getting such a slow-moving composition. Ultras are pretty slow, but Broodlords are even slower, but they're great on this map, of course, there's a lot of dead space between you and the main base of your opponent, so in that way, they're not very slow.
Yeah, I mean, Broodlords can hang around here with quite a bit of ease, and maybe we get later on.
I like that choice, and it was like very intentional as Spire finished up as the Hive finished up, so it's kind of where I expected it to go, but you know, you never know. Maybe it was just going to get Corruptors for Liberators. Now the question is, does Ryung expect this? Ryung has been very defensive. It's 11 minutes. He doesn't know what's going on, but he probably thinks it's a Hive. He's
doing what he always does, and he thinks it's going to be Ultra, so we have crazy Marauder production. But if there's like a Broodlord, unfortunately, as we've heard Zombie Grub coin the phrase, Marauders should shoot up, but they can't. So those Broodlords are going to be fantastic. Spinecar's going to buy some time. Link's running in for the backside to get on top of these tanks. He's got to bring this army back home, though. He was out of position, and I don't think he was expecting the push. But these Spinecrawlers bought him a lot of time. Broodlords morphing in directly on the front lines. This is bad because the Marines get on top of them, but Snute's going to hold this position, and not because of this great army coming in from behind. There's no anti-air. There's literally no anti-air. He's like 3 Marines. The Broodlords will push this back.
Accidentally picked up a tank and 2 Marauders, looks like in the medevac too. I might want to go drop with that just to buy some time, as the Broodlords are out and they're going to move very slowly but steadily across the map. As soon as Ryung saw the Broodlords, he did get 2 starports and started producing Vikings, so it's a good thing he didn't lose too many of his medevacs. Still, you know, 4 is, I guess, an okay count. Upgrades are a little bit far off from finishing, but even if he had upgrades, that wouldn't help you sim underneath the Broodlords, and there's another army ready to go. The Queens are coming here for transfuses.
Not to mention be anti-air for the Vikings.
Yeah, there's no Corruptors. This could have been a mistake. We've commonly seen back when Broodlords were popular, you know, turning too many Corruptors into Broodlords, but that's where the Queens come in.
Yeah, that crazy heavy Queen camp are really going to benefit him once again as we come to the later stages of the game. Now, the Broodlord, the army is not big enough to be out of control. It's like 4, it's like 5. It's really not that big. Unfortunately...
What the fuck?
Unfortunately, Snute has a lot of things.
I'm gonna get your medevacs, I swear to God.
It's the opposite of the Marauders. Spore Crawlers should shoot down.
No, they're alright shooting yourself.
Alright, so... Well, can you imagine that, like, one just kind of falls over on its side, and it's just like a it's like a horizontal cannon.
You know what that's called? It's called a cannon.
Yeah, okay. The non-hentai spore crawler, spine crawler, excuse me, I gotcha. Continue to advance the lines forward. Ryung, once again, just doesn't have anything that can connect to these Broodlords. In a small way being used somewhat like Tempest, right? Just that range to stay back and safely siege up slowly. He's not rushing in here. He's not pushing those front lines. But at the same time, if Ryung decides to stim forward, that's a lot of corrosive biles waiting for him.
Yeah, I mean, if he sims 4
I don't
past
know
Crystal
the
Palace,
natural.
well.
Yeah, well, this is the problem. I don't think he should have gone for the natural. I think if Snute pushed for the 3rd and 4th, he would have got those for free. Now he's going to lose a lot of his army. He'll trade out for it, though. He's killing a lot of Ryung's army. There's not going to be a big counterattack behind this one. Liberators do start sieging up, and the Ravagers do finally die. But you know what? Ryung throws away his entire army to do this. It's hard to say that this was necessarily a great move.
He was unable to take down those Ravagers. I really thought he'd be able to. He had the upgrade lead. Bio usually does well against Ravagers, but they just barely survived out of that tank range. Now, Ryung is mining, and he can throw the 3rd back down on location. 37 SCVs isn't the worst. Snute himself only on 50.
Yeah, well, this game's been fantastic for a lot of reasons. We didn't have fungal growth to be a factor in any regard. Now they will be. And holding an army in place and letting the Corsair Bows land on top of the units that are stuck and can't move, that's when Ravagers truly shine. Now, speaking of things that can't move, this Planetary is one of them. I think he wants to go in there, but he knows the danger of the army coming in from behind. We got Vikings on the ground because Ryung is desperate for an army of any variety.
Yeah, this is pure Ravager, I want to note. So they're going to be going down pretty quickly, but there are so many Corrosive Bows. In fact, one I think took down his own Ravager, but he's pretty secure on 4 bases. But he'll probably need his own 5th soon. He's mining out of his main and natural. His 3rd is actually surprisingly healthy, of course, because he wasn't mining from that one for so long.
It is worth noting that this game got a little bit weird, and Snute probably, like, I think the focus on the Planetary rather than the natural may have been better. I don't want to get too hung up on that because he's still in a good spot coming into this part of the game. I am waiting for those Infestors, though. If he can't get those Infestors out for this fight, it's going to be hard to fight with pure Ravagers. The Great Migration begins!
Yeah, I see like Cat talking about like his accidental spine crawlers from before, and I just don't know where that's coming from. I mean,
I don't think there's any accidental ones at all.
Yeah, right. Like I thought that would have been obvious. I'm guessing some people were like, is it for real? Because we don't really see spine and spore crawler walls anymore. That was totally Heart of the Swarm, Legacy of the Void. You just never really have enough minerals to do that. But the acceleration to Broodlords, that was totally on purpose, and these extra ones that he built, the extra spore crawlers almost looked like they were an accident just because it looked really funny. But even they're really going to help against the Vikings come in again if it becomes an air war again. Mass spore crawlers on the offense are actually really damn good. And they would have been nice against the drops had he not chosen to push them forward.
I think it's really cool that Snoot's not even gone towards Ultras either this game, by the way. Like, just, again, they can and sometimes are good units, but they are figured out by some people like Ryung, so... The biggest thing that started Snute's late-game snowball was Ryung not realizing what was actually happening. Like, thinking it was going to be Ultras, preparing for Ultras, getting caught off guard by a small amount of Broodlords. Now that the game is starting to get to this position, though, where Ryung does... What is that? Jeez. That he knows what's actually in play, that it's no longer a question, he is starting to look a little bit better for it. But, the problem still remains, his mining's not fantastic, he's far from maxing out. And, Mule's going to be dropping like nuts. Snute with a changeling keeping an eye on the base, too. He sees the extra command center coming down. Information... that looks so funny watching him patrol back. But the information in this game has been great for Snute. Not so much for Ryung.
Yeah. I am worried... Well, his information is great. I am worried that his harassment is not there. The burrowed infestors would have been nice if he had burrow. Lings haven't really been created since the first 10 minutes of this game, so no real threat of counterattacks. Doesn't even have that well upgraded Lings too. They only have the 1 melee and no adrenal glands.
Speaking of upgrades, never reached for that 3/3 either. And the funny thing about this is it would actually benefit the Queens a lot more than anything else. Ravagers, of course, rely a lot on the Corrosive Bow. That's 60 damage from the start of the game to the end of the game. That never gets better. But their auto attacks, well, not bad. They're usually dead by the time they get in range 2 auto attack. They're squishy units. Like 120 health is really not much for these Ravagers. Broodlords are coming up for round 2, by the way, where these morphing in here directly with the army. So, again, Snute doesn't have to make a full 200 max on Broodlords. He only needs a small amount of them to be effective.
Or spore crawlers. They want to be spine crawlers.
Ooh, Snoot's got to make sure he doesn't pull too many units away, realizing this a little bit. Maybe too late. He's got those fungal growths.
There's no way that Ryung's going to push into this, especially because of the static defense. This is where the spore crawlers do an excellent job. Certainly on the defense, and if he could get a couple of creep tumors down, bringing them forward with a slow, encroaching on Ryung's side of the field would be a good idea. If this is going to be the point of control, this bridge here, what the hell's a Ravager doing? Oh, okay. Then that's, I think, the best option. For Snute has. Yeah, it was just like crab walking by itself.
It's like slipping, man. He's slipping and sliding. He's on some ice. That Ravager's got 9 kills, by the way. Respect to that Ravager.
Yeah, Ryung, you know, we talked about his 3/3 for his bio, but he also has +3 for his vehicle weapons, which is pretty impressive. Now starting his ship weapons.
The ship weapon's going to be far more important in this instance. The Vikings are enough to take on the Broodlords. Oh,
no.
Snute thought there was no Vikings. Like we said, guys, Ryung started figuring out what was going on and he had better compositions for it. That I caught you off guard move from Snute earlier was cool, but it was kind of a once thing. Ryung's been pretty on top of scouting when this goes on. And, you know, we talked about Ryung's not doing harass, and neither Snute. Snute's been just kind of bulked up in the middle of the map for a very long time.
Yeah, I really wish we would get Burrow and like Tunneling Claws, or at least Burrow a couple of infestors. So, this is what I was going to talk about. Vipers. If Snute could actually take air control and abuse the dead space on Arena, but he went for like a very big ground army, you know, first. And I think now he's going to try and maybe go for that air superiority just straight up, and maybe start including more Corruptors in his army as well. Nice predictive shots there.
Well done. Even puts the safety one at the backside. But the problem with the Vipers comes in the way that this was used last time. So I know you didn't get to see it. Unfortunately, you had lagged out or your computer broke or whatever. But Ryung was nailing the EMPs. It wasn't even like, okay, maybe he got like a lucky one. Like in 3 different instances, he EMP'd all the Vipers pretty easily. So I'm not saying he'll be able to pull that off again. And I'm not saying it'll be easy either. But it is the fact knowing that this is not going to be an automatic, like, okay, Vipers win the game for Snute. Whether it's Blinding Clouds, Abducts, or Parasitic Bombs. Like, it's going to be important he dodges those ghosts.
Yeah, and the ghosts are already out, so at least a couple of them. But, you know, he can't, I guess, like, you know, that game in mind, and, you know, it's looking like a similar game, I guess.
This is not going to go well.
Just in general, you can't really depend on only Vipers to protect your Broodlords if you're going to go into dead space where Queens can't help out either. Like, there's going to have to be a Corruptor army to help them out in case, you know, the EMPs go down, and in case the splits are good for the Parasitic Bomb.
Yo, we're about to see split map on Arena, by the way.
This is the first time we've certainly seen it. We may actually see the gold base taken in a not base trade scenario.
I'm actually surprised Ryung didn't go for that gold base on the island either. He's had control of the air for quite some time now.
That's a good point. I guess...
Like, even just mule it. Like, don't even put SCVs in it. Just mule it.
Yeah, and obviously being orbital, so you could just lift. Well, probably. I guess he's worried that it is going to go to that mass air, and even though he did a good job EMPing Vipers in the last game, apparently, it would be hard to EMP when you're on an island base, you know? You have to, like, boost your metapacks over with the ghosts.
Yeah, I'm saying... I said last game, too, by the way. I kind of forgot how quick game 2 was. I meant game 1. Just...
Oh,
obviously,
right, yeah.
Obviously, no EMPs in game 2, guys. But the that very long game. Now, Snute does have these Vipers in play. It's going to be really nice. Again, there's a lot of different uses from them. Their Blinding Clouds can stop Bio from attacking, can stop tanks from shooting. Their Parasitic Bombs can threaten and destroy Viking clumps. And of course, if nothing else, like Abducts always now and then. Now and again.
Yeah, exactly. Abducts will help take care of the drops, and they'll help tag a couple of those key units. Now, Snute has been trying to harass, but with very, like, non-harassy units, right? Like, Ravagers are not really going to be great at harassing, because they can't escape. So he's been losing all the units on the right side, and Ryung has finally been able to push past Snute's harassment to kind of just walk around the map himself as opposed to drop. So he's also able to potentially escape, because his army's a little bit faster.
I cannot begin to express how amazing the spine crawlers have been this game for Snute. It's something where we always, like, it feels like we're tearing our hair out yelling at players, like, why no static defense, right? But Ryung has been denied on drops and run-bys in every aspect, in large part thanks to this static defense. So Snute, he's kind of starting to run out of money. Gas more than minerals, of course, but I do hope he considers replacing some of these buildings that have gone down, because they have been doing fantastic for him.
Yeah, and if he continued to make more static defense and stay in this defensive position, you know what is actually a decent harassment unit right now? Corruptors. Like, they're not going to expect 8 Corruptors to go around the map and kill Ryung's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right now.
Caustic Spray kills buildings. Worth noting. I thought you were going to start making a joke about the Swarm Host, and I was going to contest what Snute did unbind the Swarm Host hotkey. It's actually very difficult to make them.
We saw one Swarm Host, I think made on purpose, because someone did take the gold map on this base yesterday. The other gold base, rather, the island base.
Yeah, a late game gold, funny enough, is actually going to be pretty nice in this situation, because the faster you mine it out, the faster you can abandon it. So trying to get this base up instead of this base or this base actually makes a little bit more sense.
Here's the kicker, though. Like, I don't think Ryung... Okay, Ryung, he could either let that gold base go and be like, no, I just want to stay where I am and let you have that, and then take the island base and be like, fair is fair. Or
just like
he could
tradesies.
He could try and actually shift the engagement points off to the right, where there's no static defense and there's no creep spread, in which case I think Ryung would do a lot better.
Yeah,
and he's probably going to have to. He's losing his bases.
Well, the biggest thing is Snute's had this benefit of a choke in the middle of the map, too, where his static defense was, right? So a big part of this wasn't just like, okay, there's some creep. Okay, well, this is going to be a massacre. Meanwhile, the Vikings come in. We're going to see if there's parasitic bombs. He's got the Vipers ready to go. I don't think Ryung realized that they were there, so his engagement choice here was questionable. But now Snute's on the hunt. He's looking for those. He's looking for those Vikings. He sees no anti-air. There's ghosts.
Oh, the snipes, actually, if you're not going to actually engage.
Snipes would be better. Yeah, with a couple of scans going down, too. Snute is once again trying to deny mining from his opponent. Does push back a base while he takes another of his own. But, again, I cannot begin to express. Ryung, he's going for air upgrades. He's getting Liberators. He's got Vikings already. He wants that air control, and we've seen it work versus Zerg. However, he's got to make sure he doesn't get fungal growth. He's got to make sure he doesn't get parasitic bomb. There's a big checklist for Ryung, but if he can manage to make that checklist, he is going to have air control. There's no question about it.
You know, we saw Hydra, was it, who went for the Nidus worms, similar as we saw Nertio do earlier on as well. Now, neither one of them has had a very big bank, so the fact that Snute even has static defense is kind of impressive. But if he could sneak in a Nidus worm or even Ling drops in an Overlord or two, that could be really effective. The entire army is starting to shift more and more to the rights and less about defenses here. He tries a simple run by. That's a Platypus that's been there from the very beginning of the game, really helping out. And the Lings still aren't fully upgraded, so I think if they had 2 plus the adrenal glands, okay, there it goes, then they're going to be great at counterattacking.
Right, the adrenal glands and the Lings are something that's been lacking from this game for a while, and that might work to Snute's advantage because Ryung's not thinking about it, but I was going to talk about the base. Snap. We're going to see if those, looks like the MPs hit the top side of the Vipers, but don't get all of them, so we're going to see those parasitic bombs go down. The fungal growths lock him in place, the air gets destroyed, and Ryung gets absolutely dominated trying to push into this position. There's no more fungal growths left. He can't catch the army on the retreat. Funny enough, there's not a lot of actual damaging units here. It's Corruptors in the sky and a couple of Broodlords in the back, but this is still such a good fight for Snute, and those Lings. That Ling Remax behind us is going to be fantastic. EMP's going on the Queens. EMP's hitting the Vipers on the right side. There's, again, not a lot of damaging units, so the Marines actually stim into the Broodlords with somewhat relative ease, but they still die out. Broodlord's going to push this through. It takes 2 snipes for Broodlord. He doesn't quite have that damage. He doesn't quite have that energy. And 3 Broodlords and Lings? Is this going to be how Ryung dies?
He's going to start pissing on Food Command Center as well. Oh, good, well played.
Oh,
well
the caustic spray. The caustic spray.
Marines, he would have been able to take out those Broodlords and then start to chip away at the Corruptors, but he's losing Medivacs as well. He lost all of his air units.
He's actually going to start losing a lot now. The Marines come in and finally get on top of the Broodlords. Corruptors, as cool as they are, this wasn't a necessary base for Ryung. Snute's got to pull back. He doesn't actually have that big of a bank to remax with. Trying to take this fight in the front lines, but the Lings rush in. Adrenal Glands is finishing here in a moment. The Broodlords are actually going to live long enough to hatch from these cocoons. That one Marine, by the way, 4 health. Rip.
Oh, Jesus. He has a couple more Marines coming in here, and the Broodlords have got to just... They've actually
kiting back. He's like...
Yeah, run. Like, that one gets canceled. Ryung scans an actual fairly healthy base, but it's not mining yet. Snute's only on 34 drones.
Snute has this incredible air army, but it doesn't matter because nothing's shooting down. Ryung pushing in right now instead of playing scared is probably the smartest move he can make. It's not necessarily going to go well, but this is the best chance. Snute has to pull drones into this. This is desperation. He doesn't have a lot of drones to pull. This game's so down to the wire for both players. Gets on top of these Marines, but there's no medevac support. But there's not enough Lings.
He has to go back to mining. These Vipers can't do anything. What are they going to do?
Oh my god, he needed to go base mining. Like, he should have just been mining this whole time. They're running, but they're going to die. These Marines with no medevac support, almost dead, gonna pick off this mining base. Broodlings to spawn for this base are actually gonna kill Marines. Doesn't normally happen, but they get kills. Neither player has a lot of money. Ryung is completely out of cash, and so is Snute.
Oh my god.
It doesn't have Penance Plating. Oh, it does. It does. Oh, oh my god, then that's it. Marines can't kill an Ultralisk. Marines will never kill an Ultralisk.
These Lings do have Adrenal Glands recalled, and they do have +3 Carapace, so they are pretty beefy here. Snute's going to get into the main base and at least take away attention from the right side, where maybe that Ultra can start chomping away at the buildings. His Corruptors are still alive, aren't they? They should be pissing on this Orbital and this Planetary, but he's not thinking about it right now. He's just focusing on the Lings.
I don't blame him.
3 Ultras now? I think 3 Ultras do it.
3 Ultras probably beat this out because, again, those Corruptors will take out the Liberators. The Liberators are the only chance Ryung has to fight this. And Snute... I want to play. This is the first time he's gone ultras in 28 minutes. There's no reason for Ryung to think that this is coming.
Oh my good god! Like, yeah, thank God Snute actually got the upgrade.
It's actually oh, the fact that he never made a single ultras up to this point is so important.
It's insane, but you know, Snute, it's been a very low economic game. Like, they've never really had a huge bank. I mean, barely they ever get over 1,000 minerals in the bank. So for him to sneak out the adrenal glands, the +3 carapace, the upgrades on his corruptors, and that chitinous plating, it does reveal the ultras, so he's gonna start making ghosts.
That's a smart choice.
He doesn't have enough for a lot of ghosts.
That's a smart choice. You're going to want those 3 snipes to take out the Ultralisk to really lay it down, 4 to really secure the kills. But a lot of this really is, what's that damage on the ground going to look like? Do you actually need every single snipe to kill an Ultralisk? If you do, there's not enough ghosts. The ghost will kill 1 Ultra. That's about it.
Yeah. Medevac's taken care of. The Liberator will be taken care of easily, too, by these Corruptors.
We're going to go for the stim, but there's nothing to kill.
Is there a base trade about to happen here? Like, yeah, there's like creep spread, but...
Oh, the Medevac's pick up the ghost. He wants to try and get these outside. I think he wants to abandon ship on this. It's not going to happen. The Ultralisks are pushing through. Production? I don't know if killing production is that important. Normally it is. Normally you kill Terran production, you win the game. But Ryung only has 1 mining base. If Snute kills this, then the production is irrelevant. And I think he's realizing this now, too.
I mean, he only needs like 2 barracks to produce from.
Oh, you know what? Blinding Cloud is going to be just so freaking good here.
It is. Take down that Liberator real quick, like, go for the Blinding Cloud. Oh, he's gonna wait for it.
Doesn't even need it now. Gets the surround on the Marines. The rest get picked up. They run for safety, but this base was all of Ryung's income. Now, he did get a considerable amount of money from this. Abducts the Medevac's back! Oh, so the double kill!
So good.
That's gotta be game. This has to be game. There's just no way he can fight this anymore. Not without any support. The Planetaries, yeah, they'll take forever to knock down, but the Caustic Spray can do it without any repercussions. Zombie Grub Snute has taken a fantastic late game, and when I told you guys I had confidence in his late game, I wasn't kidding. I wasn't lying.
There's actually no reason to kill this base. It's entirely mined out. But just in case he's doing long-distance mining, it's a good thing to do.
He actually baits out repair money, as stupid as that sounds. I mean, like, it falls. This one is also, it's going to get repaired, but he doesn't have the money to keep this up for too long. The ghosts are starting to die. They're choked in the back. This is it. Medevac's pick up, trying to run away. Corruptors are still pissing away on this planetary. Thank you, Month3Core, for the 20-month resub here towards the end of this very long game. And this is map number 3, so I want to remind everybody, there's still 1 more game after this. Ryung finally takes the gold base while this goes on.
Those SCVs? No, that's all army.
No, he's just gonna take everything he can here. But
yeah, keeps up preparing
on there. Like, to what avail?
I don't know. Like, he can't deal with the Lings. Those are actually the biggest problem right now. He's able to respond to only Ultras with a couple of Ghost Snipes and some really good micro, but the Lings cannot be dealt with. There's no splash. There's barely enough Marines.
What's funny is if there was enough Ghosts, there's not. But if there were, you could actually probably snipe, hold this base. Like, nothing would ever get up here. Ever.
That's a good point. I mean, he would be able to like start reproducing an army, but then Snute's also going to start to recover once he realizes this is it for Ryung. He's going to start building drones again. He actually does still have his bases up. They never died. They just started running out of minerals and drones to use them.
Where's the Nidus Worm? That's how you get on this island base.
That's true. Those queens as well. I mean, Ryung's going to go to the last. He's probably aware that Snute's on a very low drone count, but we know that he's not out of minerals. So.
Well, this game, while it was pretty back and forth, and there was a lot of questions on who would win this game, Snute's pretty much got it at this point.
Yeah, he does.
And once again, reminding everybody, Snute is playing on the slightly less favorable server for all of these games. Half caustic spraying, half... Can you actually caustic spray something in the air?
No, I think he started doing it before it lifted.
Well, I thought it was already flying. That's weird. Okay. Yeah, maybe there's something where if you cue it before it lifts?
I really didn't think you could caustic spray something in the air.
I don't think you can either. That just looks strange. Anyways, I'm deadly serious. Like,
the Great Wall. I mean, no Nidus Worm here, please.
A Nidus Worm I actually think might be the only way to get onto this. Broodlords are a question. Snute has the entire minerals left on this side of the map to work with. So, truth be told, Ryung, I think just down to an economic position, cannot win this game. But Ryung is also not somebody to tap out when he's got an army to fight with. But I just cannot see him. He's not even repairing that starport, by the way. Please, please do not let this burn down. Such a crucial building. I love everyone spamming the GGs in chat, but it's still going on. We've got like 9,000 viewers tuning in for this, by the way. Holy
I know, right?
moly.
I think we're going to be 10,000 a day. Like, it's getting up there.
Yeah, we still have Rogue versus Masa to play out too, which is gonna be equally awesome, I feel. But this game out of Ryung and Snute. Why are
it's
these
just
lifted?
the next game that's coming up. I don't know about that.
So you can't cost spray them?
Yeah, I guess so. The thing is that relifting them and setting them down is probably less expensive than if caustic spray had gone off on it.
Yeah, because you have to still move it out of the way.
Yeah.
Ah, man. Well, this game has been a pretty good one, guys. Both players are tiring out. We can see the actions per minute graph. We don't often get to use this, but you can see it slowly declining over time. Like, that exhaustion factor really setting in towards the end of this.
Couple brood lords. I mean, they gotta be careful not to get in range of snipe, but even if they do, they're target firing the ghosts in particular. And they were.
Yeah, well, of course, snipe, while incredibly powerful, can be interrupted. So that's where the broodlings are really effective.
Yes, it is. That noise.
Well, I thought it was going to kill a broodling, so excuse me, I gotta say.
Couple transfuses going down.
Oh, transfuse is so clutch!
Oh. This is so over. Ryung, poor Ryung.
I know. He's got to be so frustrated too. Like, the foreigner control today, like this, I just want to point out, it's moments like Mana versus reality. It's Snute versus Ryung now. This is why I'm so sad we're not going to see more Korean versus foreigner action this year.
GG.
GG. All right, that was an incredibly long game, but incredibly well fought from both players. Got to give it to Snute, though, at the very end. Thank you, Galan Gala, by the way, for the new sub hype right there at the end of the game. But we are going to go to a small commercial break, guys, because it's been a long time since we've had our last one. In fact, 45 minutes. Ugh. So, a small word from our sponsors. We won't keep you too long. When we return, yeah, Snute needs to use the bathroom anyways. We'll be back with game number 4 in the series. We'll see you guys soon.
In the top left as the red Zerg, he is Liquid Snute. That's right, yeah. Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Olivia's in Texas now.
Ah, I was muted, but only for a moment. I caught myself so quickly. Excellent, you cheeky little... TLO must be watching.
Yeah, so he just went over Crank, thanks for resubbing 20 months in a row, and they did a reunion dinner, and he's cheering on his former teammate.
Yes, and of course, spotted here at the top right, it's MVP's Ryung. Now, luckily, I didn't mute myself for anything too important, because again, just want to give some shouts to the sponsors of this event, TING. Without them, we wouldn't have this awesome tournament, and we are hitting some peak viewership today, guys, so I hope you guys are going to enjoy the rest of it. We still have one more best of 5 after this. It'll be Masa versus Rogue. Now, as we had talked about, and this still applies to this series, despite the fact that it's still here at the tail end of it, it is only one best of 5. There is no losers match you got to prepare for, no winners match you have to save builds for, or anything like that. These guys are playing pretty extreme, and I like it. I like that we're not having anyone holding back, and I mean, Snute and Ryung has just been a fantastic best of 5 so far. But this could be it for Ryung. Let's not forget, this is his last life. If Snute wins this map, it's all over for him.
This is probably my favorite series of the entire team tournaments, but I might be forgetting.
I don't know. Mana and Reality was pretty good. I'm jaded. Like, this was good because of long games, but Mana with the upset is gonna be really hard for me just to beat, I suppose.
It is like the emotion and the storyline of Mana versus
he's the only
Reality.
Protoss. He's the only Protoss.
Yeah, versus the actual excellent games that have been showcased by Ryung and Snute. It's like, which one do you like better, I guess?
I will say today, this has been the highlight for me was Ryung. I know you missed it, I'm sorry to say it, but in game 1, Ryung using that mule net to catch Ultralist, for me, beats out any other moment of anything we've cast so far.
Yeah. There's the muted.
Yeah, there we go, kicking in that stream delay. Hi. So yeah, we
course.
learned recently what happens here, guys, is when I'm muting and tabbing back in too quickly, it actually does unmute me, but for whatever reason, like remutes me immediately. So I've learned to catch this now. It's not so bad.
Tried a last-minute split, but it didn't really work out. Thought that it was really going to do much to begin with. There's a bunker there. But I was going to bring up that, the first win for Snute today came in the second game in the form of an all-in. So he is not shy about all-inning. He is that nice tournament player that will play macro games, and, most people know him as a macro player, but has one or two aggressive builds up his sleeve. He's not going to be getting too aggressive here. He just put down a third base. I think seeing the bunker also made him hold off on the, maybe actually dedicating with those lings. Maybe getting more roaches. 3 roaches, that's barely enough to cover, like, Hellion harass, which, of course, is not happening here. It is going to be a drop.
Jesse is saying Rifkin's fired in chat. Well, you know what, Jesse? Ting's fired. Get off my overlay. Fire me. I quit. No, I'm just kidding. We love Ting, guys.
I still want my money. It's okay.
Yeah, we still want to have this tournament. We still want another round, too. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, Ting. I'm sorry to everybody except Jesse.
We're talking about Olivia and she couldn't hear why.
Luckily, she'll never find out.
Right?
Drew hits for the 10-month resub in this game as well. Shoutouts and thank you, sir. Third base on the way for Snute, and he did have eyes on this. The Overlord's now moving in position to see the medevac a little bit better. But, with the Spore Crawler and some Queens, Ravager here and there. I mean, he did go for 3 Ravagers, I think expecting Liberators on this map, and I don't blame him, but they'll still be good for the defense.
Mm-hmm. Looks like Ryung is going for a 2-base build. He's a lot of barracks finishing up here. No third CC and only a single engineering bay. Snute does want to get eyes on this, but unfortunately, there's no overlords right now, so I'm not sure he will think about getting an overseer in there. And it's also just usually an assumption that some type of attack, but you're not sure what, will hit, whether it's something dedicated or something more like pressure, such as this drop, or they're going for a third CC. There's actually still a lot of assumptions made about what Terrans are doing. Even though they're much more diverse than they were in Heart of the Stormwings Liberty, where you always saw a third CC in some form. That doesn't mean that Snute's going to be out of luck if he doesn't scout this. As long as he scouts it on the way over, his crease thread's okay. He could just try and flood roaches, but he would love to have some advance notice.
Yeah. Quick answer in chat. Billy87 Bob asking, because he was one of the G2A gift card winners. He wants to know when we're going to be contacting the winners of the giveaway. So I'm still waiting on the gift codes to clear. I have the it shows that it's pending type thing from the sponsor, but the second I've got all the names written down. I haven't forgot about you, man. The second we have those codes to give out, I will be sending them out. The Corsair winners, though, have also got to be contacted. Nobody who won anything on the sub day has actually gotten anything, so don't feel too paranoid if you're one of the winners who's like, I'm wondering, I haven't heard back, seems a little bit weird. I am still just waiting on the prizes, but we haven't forgotten. We've always followed through on any prize payouts, any gift giveaways, guys. Don't worry, it's coming.
Yeah, we've always held up our side of bargains. Now, if we did it through someone else, or for someone else...
Well, we still haven't had any issues, though, right? I'm trying to think. We've never actually
You're talking about the Blizzard thing.
Oh, well, I mean, that did eventually go through. Blizzard, it just took them, 4 months to do it, but it did eventually go through. How funny is that, by the way? Everyone's like, oh, G2A is so shady, but it's the most respectable sponsor, or not even sponsor, the most respectable thing, Blizzard, that's given us the most.
It's literally the quickest payouts. Thanks to Kano
Smash!
Yeah, for just being the new sub. Yeah.
Awesome to see.
The Roach is coming out now, the Link's coming out. He didn't see this with very much advance notice, so unfortunately Ryung is able to get into a pretty decent position before Snute was ready to hit him. And actually, he's going to take the fight. It's before any of his upgrades are done, so not ideal, but he does have a lot of Ravagers.
Yeah.
This isn't well.
Ravagers don't need upgrades, but the problem is they do need buffer. Something to stand in front of them from the Marines. So backing away from this, Ryung is a little bit tentative to push. He doesn't know what's waiting for him, and I don't blame him. But the fact that it is Roaches and Ravagers means there's not going to be surprise Banelings. The Ravagers kind of nestled into the third. Not a lot they can do right now. They really want to get in there, but the tanks are doing a great job zoning this out. Queen's going to soak the first couple hits from the tanks, allowing the Ravagers to move forward. But Snute's pulling the drones. This is dire. This is panic. Snute is not happy with the position he's in right now, and he's going to try and break this. He does start pushing the Marines back. He's going to lose most of the Ravagers to do this. Means any rally from Ryung is going to be that much more powerful for it. Realizing, I've accidentally left my tanks alone, darts back to save them. He picks all 3 of them up. Ryung is actually definitely going to destroy Snute here.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Snute had taken a 4th base. He was being pretty greedy. Very unfortunately, they never got a scout off on what Ryung was doing. It was a complete blindside, and that's going to be almost a free win for Ryung here. I'm going to go into the ace match. Snute not ready to give up yet. He knows he has a 4th base, but now he's even as many drones to utilize said 4th base. So.
Having pulled those drones, 33 going down. That's not something he can replace, especially because he has to keep pumping out army. Ryung's rally coming down the middle of the map just guarantees there's always going to be more units to deal with. GG, Zombie Grub, we're going to get the ace match.
Ace match.
Whoa. The Nurchio's games to abuse here. Like, we're talking a lot about like what Terran can and can't do, but at the end of the day, Snute might just be like, guess what? I got Overlord drops, baby. Can you deal with it? Well, we'll show the map off, because again, I know a lot of you guys probably haven't seen this map before, but many of us have, and we love just how awesome this map can be. So,
oh no.
Okay, well, spawning in the top right side of Detox, it's gonna be the Red Terran player Ryung, who definitely has never played this map before. Because if you don't know this, guys, you can put 1 depot, 1 barracks over here to wall off.
Yeah. In the bottom left, as the blue Zerg, he is Liquid Snutes. Ryung's veto, by the way, since he didn't veto Detox, was Prion Terraces, which makes sense. But...
Alright, so to explain really quick, Ryung, again, this is probably his first time on the map. This is hugely disadvantageous for him. Snute's played on this many times, and he's won many times. As we can see here in the main, it's low ground, so like if you put the depot here, you still have the wall off, but you don't have high ground vision to fight your opponent. The wall here is nice. It's very far away, but to compensate, it's a small choke. 1 barracks, 1 depot can wall this off. Your 3rd base over here does have 2 entrances, like we said, so it's a little bit scary. By the way, I just want to point out, Avex was the one guy that Jesse beat in that video, and it was on this map. But 3rd and 4th, 4th and 5th, they've got this back rock entrance. There's high ground smoke. There's so many things that just screw you as a defender on this map.
First of all, I am Rookie. Thank you for being a new sub. But
Woo!
Actually, you reminded me about the 4th and 5ths. Recall that Snute's last time he played on this map was taking the 4th to his top left.
Right, he was going for the weird bases. That's right.
Yeah. So the 4th and 5th should obviously be the gold or the other like bare mineral patch, and the gold is usually the ideal because hey, it's a gold and it's right there. But Snute has just been saying like, I'm not going to be too greedy. I'm not going to go for the gold. I'm going to go for something that has high ground and a little bit maybe better for me if I have to take a fight here. Now it could be argued that the Terran player could be like, okay, you take your base over there, then I'm still going to push into your 3rd, but then they risk a surround, especially if there's creep tumor is actually being spread over there. So it's pretty cool. Like Snute has played on the map, but he's also obviously bothered to kind of study it. We've had other players that play on it, but only really utilize it as the most obvious tricks, such as Nurchio's, Overlord drops, or maybe like 1 or 2 Nidus worms. And that's really obvious, but to actually think about the way that the base placement is going to go is something that Snute's only been the one to really do. I think one other person did it, but I can't remember who it was. Snute was definitely one to do it first that we see anyways.
I like that Ryung did that too, by the way. Like, again, not playing this map before, but he does put the depot to cover all that extra dead space in the main, because there is a considerable amount of dead space in that main. I think the other thing that makes this hard for Terran is the use of Reapers here. You've got, some in and out towards your 3rd and the natural, but getting to the main is pretty difficult. Also, I didn't notice there's like an armory in the main. Grab a couple of guns.
You've definitely noticed that before.
Okay, well then I forgot. Sniper rifles and was that the Marine? It looks like the Marine God's rifle.
Yeah, remember we talked about this at the Hakesis, and you're like, no, Tegus has a machine gun dummy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, thank you. He's calling you a dummy that clued that in for me. No, it's actually cool, because I think it was Snute on this map, too, in the past for ZVZ. You can knock down these cooling towers in the middle of the map, but there's a lot of ways around it, so it doesn't cut and shape the map, but it does provide some very, very cool last-moment engagement potentials. Again, AVAX providing a lot of really cool maps, and this is one of my favorites.
The other key aspect is there is quite a bit of dead space, so that Liberators can be abusive, or a little abusive, especially on that natural, for instance, and around the 3rd. So the same way that Liberators could be good, or Banshees, I suppose, they both will take advantage of that. Mutas are also good. So you can go Roach Ravager on any map. It's actually the safer, more like, just in-your-face type of composition, but Mutiling Bling is pretty good here, too. Snute starts off with the Roach Warren, but we'll see if he actually dedicates to, like, +1 missile and all that jazz. Snute's is gonna have to deal with not a 2-base push this game, which is good because Detox does have a surprisingly long distance in the middle. We've seen a couple of Zergs try and, you know, early pool in a ZVZ and be like, wait a minute, this is not as cert as I thought it was going to be.
Okay. Big thank you to Comics Asylum for that new sub as well. Still got that number growing and growing. You're actually, what's that put it? Rookie is going to be our subscriber number 1,225, and Comics Asylum is 1,226. That number keeps growing bigger and bigger every day. I can't believe it. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Now, this is kind of interesting. Like, Ryung is... His build, I didn't expect him to sit here playing passive for. Like, he's just kind of chilling. Literally, like, Banshee just hovering in the middle of the map.
This might be fear of the map, unfortunately, playing here, or it might be they was trying to hide them. I'm not sure, but it was really odd. I guess Snute did make, like, a handful of lings last game, and he was anticipating the same thing, but only a couple of scouting lings come in here. Banshees haven't done too much yet. Snute, does he have any defense against them? No. Well, besides, no, he has queens. Just no Overseer at his third. He has a lair. There's the Overseer. So a couple of drone losses, not a big deal.
Yeah, catches him a little off guard.
3, in fact. Of course, people like, you know, commenting on the wall-off such as we did. Ryung obviously not being very familiar with this map, but the wall-off really didn't end up, you know, causing him any grief here. I mean, it probably won't this entire game. If you're already going to be, you know, hit in your main base, it's probably already game over.
The nice thing about this map is it's not gimmicky, right? Like, this isn't a map that had bridges that lower and raise. There's no lava coming up and down. So if Ryung can get to 3 bases, if Ryung can get to 4 bases, doesn't even have to secure them, but if he's on that level of economy, he'll be able to play with the units he has regardless of the layout of the map. And I think the map... How to phrase this? Like, the map deficit, the lack of knowledge, whatever... That only really does hurt you if Snute was going for a big all-in early on. You didn't really realize how thirds and fourths interacted.
Yeah. It might hurt him a little just because I think he looks at that gold as the obvious fourth, so he might do his push, you know, and be like, oh, wait a minute, the force isn't here. He should start combat shield soon and be looking for that push. But Snute, as we talked about, takes the fourth in the top left, is going to try and go very quickly up to Hive, which is a little dangerous. He hasn't been the one trying to do this. It was, you know, Nerd Shield last night that was going for the super fast Hive. Adds on upgrades afterwards, but held off on him for a while. Has a pretty booming economy. His creep spread is starting to be really good. Like, covering the middle of this map is pretty important, because that's probably where Ryung is going to go to first. But then getting creep spread to the top left base is a little more difficult. That's, like, the one downside of taking that base. But I think he considers the upsides more important. Army actually going kind of in the middle of nowhere right now. Hellions leading the charge through the middle. Okay, they were going to go ahead and drop. That makes more sense. No Overlord coverage off to the right. That's pretty darn dangerous. Not even one, like, right near your natural is, I think, just a huge oversight from Snute. He has nothing to defend his natural except a single Spore Crawler and a Queen.
It is worth noting he does go to that top left base again, so Snute, I guess, prefers further distance rather than open entrances to his mineral lines, but we talked about it, like, there's no vision for this, so it comes in a little bit late. Infestors aren't quite ready for energy, so they can't do much. In fact, having them on the front lines is hugely dangerous.
Ryung, though, doesn't really commit to that drop, even though he probably could have been able to snipe off maybe one of the Infestors, was just afraid Lings would be rolling back, and Banelings too, but of course no Banelings. So he picks everything up and he goes back. I mean, the drop was never going to end the game, and I was going to go into that, but I really think it should have done more damage for how free it was going to be. Now, having done drops, has to pull back, Ultras are going to be out, and they're going to have plating. In this game, actually, Snute prioritizes Adrenal Glands a lot more than the last.
Well, I mean, shout out to the Lings, on Arena that won him the game, but very important to note, Ryung hasn't scouted anything into the main for a while, so you can guesstimate timings, and maybe Ryung starts putting Tech Labs blindly on these next 3 barracks, but it is kind of hard to guess what Snute's doing right now.
It's only 9 minutes, you know? Like, you might start thinking, like, okay, the high would finish up in maybe, like, a minute or 2, but to have the Ultras already out by 10 minutes, it might be a bit of a surprise. Hellions finally find some use, but not much. Only 3 drones go down for them. They felt really odd. The opener in general for Ryung just felt really, like, safe. Like, we're gonna do the move most safe that I possibly can. Okay, this one. So he definitely, if he knew the map, would have been able to get with like a faster 3cc, for instance, and maybe his push would have been a little bit stronger. But it is what it is. And Snute's I mean, I gotta imagine when you're Zerg trying to get up to a hive like that, you're just in a constant state of stress until you actually get the ultras. Now I can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief. And it's up to Ryung to counter them. So getting that Marauder count up, getting the tank count up, getting his upgrades a little bit quicker than Snute, and abusing the ramps, ideally. Well, that's where ultras feel a little bit worse on this map.
Yeah. There's a lot of chokes created. You don't really have that Sim City effect, but it's still the... You know, you can't push in through this ramp very easily. Tanks can be abused really well over here on the right side if he wants to knock down his rocks as well. To pressure that gold.
Oh, he thinks it might be like last game. Oh, plating isn't done, though!
This is dangerous. The fungal growths are still going to be good. He does take out a good chunk of the army. Plating might not be done, but plating be damned. He's taking a great fight. The fungals land once again, and Snute's going to keep pushing through. Now, kite this plating's done in a few seconds, but if he loses these ultras to the kiting, it's getting off a creep. He's got to pull back. Snute's smart enough to do this. He does pull back. Transfuses going into the ultras. Kite this plating down in 1 second. Now he can turn this around into a fight if he wants.
When did he get so many queens? I didn't realize he had 10, and I think he brought most of them to the front lines.
Zombergen, please. It's Snute. When did he get so many?
I know.
Like in the opener. That's when.
My mistake. My mistake.
No, but
that was very, very scary because we saw Nurture make the same mistake and then lose 4 very important ultras. He could have lost 6 with good focus firing if they did not have that plating easily. But luckily, Ryung was not anticipating that huge army. I think he thought it was going to be like last game where he caught Snute off guard with Earth Ravager, and he was not expecting so many ultras at least. Like maybe 1 or 2, but not 9.
This is a scary moment for Ryung because he does have the choke, but if Snute just denies mining even for a while, that's great. Top left though, Snute wasn't ready for this. You know, previous games we had static defense, not this time. Drones getting pulled, but they're going to get shredded. Ultras coming to try and defend the hatchery. Might just barely do it. Splash damage is awesome.
Oh, transfuses! Yeah. They also made sure to get the most splash damage possible. If they'd gone in a row, they would not have been able to save that hatchery. A couple ultras abusing the backspace. I wonder if Ryung is only just realizing that exists. Now he knows for sure.
That real son of a bitch moment, but Liberators are out. Ryung doesn't find himself without capability to fight in the late game. And Snute is going very ultras heavy once again. I find this very interesting. He's going to open up some of the pathways in the middle of the map, so he's not going to get stuck in chokes. And, open every opportunity possible, but... If Ryung, looks like he's going to take his base down. Snute's still not putting static defense, rushing that back. I love these queens for the transfuses, though. You know, we're long and gone past the days where it was part of the swarm. It was that, like, Home Story Cup where you had one ultra get transfused forever. But these transfuses are going to be hugely beneficial.
Yeah.
That ultra, by the way, took a long time to die despite where it was.
Yeah, that was an odd Ultralisk. So he loses that first big... Oh, I don't know about this. Oh, there's not much support for these Ultras. They're running into Marauders and a choke and tanks and Liberators. What was that decision, Snute?
I have no idea. That was...
Oh, dear.
That's crazy is what it was. If he gets these Ultras back, he can heal them up at least. So he's got those transfuses. This Ultra at 10 health. Thank God he keeps it alive because... Let's be honest, Snute's not exactly flush with cash. He has to actually play cost-effective with said Ultralisks. Now he's got the Spire coming up next. We're going to see more Infestors come into play. I like where he's going, but I don't like where he's at. And for Snute's sake, let's not forget, this is the ace match. Any small mistakes on a map like this, when you come into it, you're the player who knows how this map works. You really would expect him to have an advantage.
Yeah. So Snute did lose that top left base, but he took the gold and the other, like, more regular base, I suppose. So his income should be, definitely bumping up here. But Ryung has his 4th base, going to his own 5th as well. He's had a bank for quite some time. Even though he was surprised by the Ultras, he was able to save most of his army, and there really hasn't been many other skirmishes besides that.
We're seeing 5 Liberators at a time. We're going to see that situation where Snute's going to have to find a way to break the air, which is... Again, Vipers can do, but it's going to be hard to pull off with somebody like Ryung in play. Thank you to Shampoo McTavish for the sub. Brand new sub. That's 3 new subs in one game. What is going on? Liberator will get picked up by the Queens. Nicely caught. This base actually has a Spore Crawler, funny enough, so the Liberator might not be too big of a problem. But this issue remains where Snute's ground army has all these chokes he has to work around and through, and that's not good.
Yeah. It's, it might be a situation where Snute has never got to this late of a game on this map, but Ultras do seem like, okay, they're good initially. They're going to stop Ryung from pushing into you, but Broodlords are definitely going to be much better. We talked about Tempest when Protoss playing this map because there's a lot of, ramps and little, like this tower that's right here as we watch. They can abuse and actually just stay over, and he could win the air war similar to what he did on Arena, but not Dead Space. Just, towers and ramps to abuse. And now he realizes that, right? But it was scary. Like, he almost lost all of his ultras pushing into a, like, absolutely terrible position, and he didn't have the bank at that time to replenish. Now he does.
Oh, nice fungals. I didn't know if he was going to actually try and push through this, but it's funny you bring up the ultras. Last game, let's not forget, he didn't need ultras. Arena, they came very late in the game. They were clutch, but they weren't necessary for the first, like, 25 minutes of that game. So Snute can... There's definitely proof through this series alone. Snute can play without ultras. So maybe not keeping them alive, maybe investing elsewhere. We'll see how it works. He does need money, or sorry, not money, but production, because the supply is full. He's got money in the bank. He's been mining fantastically throughout this game. And again, those queens, funny enough, has been keeping his army very cost-effective. Like, a big part of why Snute has this bank is keeping those ultras alive. He's only lost 8. Should have been far more.
Once his economy was actually rolling, and you know, he was accruing that bank pretty quickly.
Queens, please! You're blocking out the ultras so badly.
Right. So I think that Snute with this bank, because this is one thing that was missing on Arena, and that was like an awesome game in itself. But now we can actually start, you know, maybe criticizing a little bit that Snute isn't adding on all these like miscellaneous upgrades, such as like Burrow, for instance. That could be really, really good. He is much faster up to his 3-3, and he got those reguns really, really quickly. But no pathogen glands either, you know. So if we have to ever make infestors again, they're not going to be good to go. And he might most desperately need them. Ryung, of course, as a Terran, is adding on all those extra Engineering Bay upgrades, and even bothering to get Liberator range, which I don't think he's done yet.
He did in one of the games, I think.
Maybe game 1, which I didn't see.
Yeah, actually, yeah, because he went for that in Hyperflight Rotors. But,
I see.
I was gonna say really quick though, the ghosts coming out are pretty huge. No matter what the situation is, ghosts are great against late game, so snipes are gonna apply to everything. There was Hyperflight Rotors once again. Now, Hyperflight Rotors, I really want to stress this. It makes Banshees great harass units for running around the map. But the funny thing is, they're still not going to be good for fights. And the game, of course, you liked out, like, 2 Banshees got to sit there in the main and kill Ultraviolet Caverns, and Snute just kind of ignored them. I don't think he makes that same mistake again. But one thing we still don't see are Vipers. There's been such a huge Liberator count that was revealed a long time ago. I'm surprised. The Ultras, I don't know if this is AI or what's going on, but Snute has been derping around the map with these big, clumsy units for so long. And I think this is a bit of a sacrifice. Not that he wants to, but he kind of has to, because he doesn't have supply to make anything else.
Yeah, there's not much else you're going to be able to do with Ultras. They're very obvious when they're moving around. I guess, you know, I mentioned Burrow, Pathogen Glands. The other thing you could add on maybe is a Nidus Worm.
What if you had, like, Burrowed Ultras waiting? Just create, like, a concave.
That's not where I was going with that.
Yeah, no, but that's where I'm going. Surprised by the trucker.
But certainly Nidus Worms and drops could be helpful. Even Burrow, just to make sure that you know when they're starting to take this left side of the base, or to continue denying them the right side, like whatever actually happens. This is the first time that we're going to see Detox go to maybe a split map.
Yeah, this is definitely the longest. We thought Hydra and Mono was like the game, but Ryung and Snute, there is so much on the line for this. Like we've talked before, this is a $300 match, right? Difference of like 8th place versus 2nd place, or sorry, 3rd and 4th place. But the truth of it is, you really are playing for 1st and 2nd still. Like that $2,500 prize.
Please. Oh god, that Sensor Tower.
I know, the Sensor Tower creating the greatest SimCity of all time. Snute is getting so screwed on this map by the AI of these Ultras. Like, that's not even an exaggeration.
Now, that looks silly, but this is I don't even know if in the Morrow game versus Nergio I saw a 10,000 mineral bank. It's been a long time.
Snute, actually, I wonder, like, he's got all these queens, but they're roaming, they're not injecting. There's not a lot of larvae on these hatcheries. Like, will he even be able to use this
49.
bank appropriately?
Yeah, actually, I don't think 40... It depends what he makes,
my god.
But
When did he make... He's going up for 11 Vipers.
They're coming out like 4 or 2 at a time, I think, so...
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's going to be hard to EMP all those. Keep in mind, again, reminder for how EMP works in this dynamic, guys. You need 2 EMPs to completely drain a Viper, but only 1 to make sure that they can't parasitic bomb.
These are all orbitals. He doesn't need SCPs. This is Heart of the Swarm, man.
Well, okay, that sounds silly, but I like it. I like it. We got a nuke coming out, Zombie Grub. A freaking nuke.
Oh, and a lot of Banshees, too. So, thanks to Copper Ross for the 2-month resub.
And by the way, I did say 3 subs. I forgot about Kano Smash. That's my bad. We had 4 new subs this game.
Yeah. I am... You know, once I was worried in Arena, but Snute ended up taking the game. Oh my god, Ravens. But I am once again worried that Snute does not have appropriate counters and offense here. Like, he is going to be outmaneuvered by nukes, Banshees,
a lot of nukes, too.
Cloaked Ghosts just in general can be very obnoxious to deal with. Drops, of course, the standard. It's all going to be difficult for Snute to deal with, potentially. Like, he's doing an okay job now, but it's so that he's not getting his own harassment, and it is a little worrying. His bank means that he doesn't have to care right now, but it could be better, maybe.
So, Snute's going for some static defense. I like this as a good way to use his minerals so he doesn't have to run around these bases. Again, they were fantastic before. Ravens are going for a couple of new upgrades that you guys have probably never seen in the production tab I want to explain, but I also want to watch this nuke go down. So, this explosive shrapnel actually makes seeker missiles and auto turrets do 30% more damage. The COVID reactors, we all know. We're going high-capacity fuel tanks. This lets medevacs boost for an extra 3 seconds.
I would not have seen that die.
That was actually a very cleverly hidden nuke, too. But yeah, so this lets medevacs boost for an extra 3 seconds at a time. In the Ravens, we don't see them almost ever in Legacy of the Void. And I almost feel like Ryung, this isn't a plan. This is like a what the fuck am I going to do? I might as well try it thing. Because Ravens have their point defense turns only last like 20 seconds now or something. But it'll still soak up a volley from the Corruptors. Again, Seeker Missile's going to be hitting for, I think it's 130 instead of 30, or sorry, 130 instead of 100. Splash damage still applies. Auto turrets do way more damage now. Auto turrets only last like 20 seconds as well, but they do like, with this upgrade, I think like 20 damage a shot or something silly like that.
Oh, it'll be insane. But of course, Raven harassment is dangerous because they don't do so well with the escape.
Well, who needs Ravens when you got Banshees that move as fast as Oracles?
You said he did this in the first game, so it's a little unfortunate. He had that upgrade for so long that maybe Snute just it's like the late Banshees. Wasn't expecting them so late in this game. Didn't have cover on his brand new base. But finds these ones.
So this is the problem. It's hard to actually catch said Banshees. Like, it's not even about the Corruptors keeping up with them as much as the Overseer.
Mm-hmm.
I love Olivia, by the way, commenting saying that Snute has Oprah money right now. This will reach some of the drones. He's got to be a bit careful with this. I don't know if he sees this dot coming. In fact, Snute definitely doesn't see it.
No, it's like a quarter of the drones. Oh, not even.
Not even.
Get
Okay.
one drone
I thought that would have been way closer.
Yeah, me too. I don't know what was up with that. The Banshees do go down, though. A little bit miscontrolled of die to Queens. They did an okay job, but that was, I think, 5 Banshees, including the ones in the top left, for just a single base snipe.
I can't remember if it was a patch that's already happened or a proposed change, but they're tweaking the auto turret damage, right? Because it does more than an ult.
Are they?
I think I remember reading something about that, because auto turrets deal more damage to Ultralists than Marauders do right now.
I don't remember seeing anything about the Raven.
Maybe I'm imagining. I thought it was maybe in a community Okay, regardless.
Yeah.
We'll see what the actual damage is on the auto turrets when they come down, because I don't remember what the stasis is. Spore Crawlers are a deterrent if anything. With +3 air weapon upgrades, as we saw, they get the Banshees just tear through. The damage is so good, and as we see, they don't really need cloak. They're just fast enough to get the hell away.
Yeah.
This game is becoming a lot more stalematey, and again, I feel so bad for Masa and Rogue, who were scheduled to play an hour ago. It's like 4 a.m. in Korea. Ugh.
Poor Rogue, actually. This is Moss's greatest chance, though. He's cheering everything on. Yeah, go longer.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, it's fine. I'm waking up, man. It's like 11 a.m. What's that? 1 or 2 p.m. Eastern? Not a problem.
Yeah.
This Raven
I'm
army,
sorry,
though.
Rogue, but
This has gotten really high. Like, we have never seen Ravens used well in Legacy.
Goodness.
I'm excited.
We're seeing the rocks being broken down too. Like, no one even remembers these exist, so this is gonna make it easier for the ultras.
Yeah.
Ooh.
These Banshees get pretty redonkulous. Now, he did make a stupid amount of Vipers, 11 in play, but they've been hiding this whole time. And I love bombs to clean up the Banshees, and maybe life is a bit easier. But these things he's losing are minerals, and he's got minerals to lose. Like, again, that bank is ridiculous. So the fact that he's not let Ryung know that there are 11 Vipers in the back, I just want to point this out to everybody. Like, Snute, I guarantee you, has not forgotten this. This is not a mistake. This is on purpose, and I think that's really clever.
Yeah. Thanks to Potato Wrath for being a new sub. Woohoo!
5 new subs. Boom.
Luckily, Snute has not only been a participant of Heart of the Swarm for a very long time, he was one of the best users of these, stalemate defensive swarm host type, alright? Like, sometimes it was kind of, annoying to cast Snute because he would use it, but he was good at it, and that's for sure. So, when I look at the bank and I look at the drone counts, a lot of lesser Zergs will start using the bank, thinking like, oh, 10,000 minerals, like, no big deal. And then they won't be able to replenish it because,
Well,
they started cutting drones. But I think Snute's going to be a lot smarter about that.
Right, and that's a big thing we were discussing from the start of this game. Like, Ultralisk being pulled back, Transfuses being a big part of it. Like,
Oh, that air army. Holy shit.
okay, this air army looks ridiculous, but I love this nuke. It's kind of like, lol, creep tumor. This is not a cost-effective nuke. It really isn't. But the air army, I just want to point out, this is something that will be notorious for clumping. A fungal growth, parasitic bomb or 3. This could quickly be dispatched. Like, let's be perfectly clear on this, guys. In general, Terran air is probably the best, but in very specifics,
he has a gold base still. I didn't even realize.
But in this specific situation, I feel like it's also perhaps Ryung's greatest weakness because it can go down so easily. Like Snute, you can't burrow in faster. It's going to be Raven, so it's not like you're getting a surprise fungal. But if Ryung's not paying attention for a moment, if he's clumped up, like, there's just so many ways it could go badly.
Alright, so first of all, Snute has added on all those upgrades that I was kind of like, he should probably get 8 minutes ago. He's burrow,
both of them. Look at Hit G. That goes across the top of the screen.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to talk about the upgrades, because I saw that Ryung was only just now getting building armor, and I was like, how has he not gotten that before?
What if Snute goes like Neural Parasite, and he's just like, come here, Ravens.
Take
like,
an SCV? Oh.
No, Ravens. You throw a couple of Secret Missiles into, like, the Terran army.
We did see, he was actually one of the guys that was doing that.
Yeah,
back
him
in the Swarm Force era.
And, well, not just Swarm. Recently, we saw Tilo and Snute and some others trying to use Neural Parasite versus Protoss.
Right. I was thinking the Secret Missile thing specifically, but sure. Yeah, they remember that upgrade exists.
It's better now, too. For those who don't know, they gave Neural Parasite back its range, so it's no longer, like, melee range. But okay, this air army is so strong. The point defense drone is going to make the Corruptors do nothing. It's about these Vipers. Parasitic bombs hit everything. Ryung's going to lose the air army. There's no way to split in time. Watch the supply drop. 100 supply goes down in 3 seconds flat. And Ryung, well, actually still can't be killed. The point defense drones mean that nothing else can hit the 2 or 3 air units remaining. This is stupid. But he loses everything. Zombie Girl, oh my god, he doesn't have the gas. He's got the money, he's got the minerals, he doesn't have the gas to replace this. I think Snute just won this game. The overconfidence, or the underconfidence, whatever you want to call it, the overconfidence, there we go, from Ryung just cost him everything. Wait, there was no Secret Missiles. That was just point defense drones. I'm mad about that, if we're gonna be honest, but whatever.
I'm just mad okay, so Snute is this guy who's playing late game all the time in Heart of the Swarm.
Where's the army graph?
Ryung was barely in tournaments, and that's not intended to be like, a shot at him, but he really was not in a lot of tournaments. He actually wasn't getting a lot of opportunities to play that super long mech game. I would never think of Ryung and think like mass Ravens at the end. So maybe he doesn't have experience having a mass air army. One of the first things you're supposed to learn is to actually split a little bit before attacking, and that's just...
Okay, yeah, I agree. You nailed it, but do me a favor and hit the army size graph for a sec. Look at that dip.
That drop off.
Now, Ryung's still producing
Look at the
units.
income graph, though. Like, that's kind of funny.
Right, this is where the game becomes problematic. Like, well, actually, yeah, Ryung for a long time was winning the income, but he's got no gas. Ravens and Liberators and Vikings, these are all very gas-expensive units. It's so hard to replace this. He's gotten a decent army back. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's still fighting in this game. But it's so much easier for Snute to take a fight and replace his army.
This is so good. Like, I don't know how I got another army back. It was mostly in bio units, so that's why. But you're right. Like, he's out of gas to even make bio units. He's making mass Marines now, and mass Marines can do a lot, mind you. But Snute really didn't lose anything. Like, he kept all of his important units alive. I mean, maybe he lost a couple of Vipers, but he's still at 5. Has 2 more on the way.
I just want to throw out there: if Ryung wins this game at this point, Terran's bullshit. But I love that while this has been going on, like, actual credits where it's due, he's been very active with the Banshees. They picked up a lot of spore crawlers, they've been flying around the map. They're a bit weak, so they kind of got to repair, but they clear up the creep tumors. Soon's putting new ones down. But Ryung trying to take another base, and he needs to, because you know what? This is mining out. This is mined out. Like, he needs continued income.
Sorry,
I guess you can caustic spray something in the air.
I really think you were allowed to. I could have sworn someone tested that at the very beginning of Legacy of the Void. But...
I guess you just target structures. That's the rule. Because I know that you could, like, target something down, it would lift up and be fine.
Oh god, I'm watching the replay. Oh, Jesus Christ, for friggin'. A bunch of parasitic bombs. That was good splits, but the Banshees still take all the damage.
Alright, so the Banshees going down is a bit of a problem. He just keeps them alive, sure, but these units were the most active thing, the most proactive thing Ryung had going for him was the speed on these to run around the map and do whatever he could. Snute advancing over here, he knows, you know what, I think Snute smells blood. He knows blood in the water. He knows Ryung's hungry, he knows he's bleeding out, and he knows he doesn't have minerals, so Ryung trying so difficult to take this base, Snute's going to keep denying it. The Spore Crawlers even coming down are going to mean that the Command Center can't land without taking damage.
That's pretty good. I guess you could build a new one. He's got enough minerals. What's so crazy is that Ryung's supply is really not that bad. Like, his army supply is only 20 down. They've been even workers for quite some time, and of course he has orbitals, so if he ever does get a base, that's going to be a mule hammer and a half. Well, he needs gas right now. The Banshees are still, like, you know, trying to do some damage. He still has enough SCVs to turn him around and try and take new bases. His best hope is going to be the south one, the one that he lost after that very poor engagement.
Ryung needs to call out Mirahan and recruit some mercenaries to help with the army, because I mean, the Vikings here are admirable. I love the Ravens. Again, bringing these in, we saw, despite the carnage of what happened, there was like a good minute where the Corruptors were firing and dealing no damage because of the point defense drones. There's just so many of them. That's fantastic. But I'm wondering how these Ravens get utilized this time, because there's not a lot of Corruptors left. If he kills all the Corruptors of the Vikings, point-of-static bombs aside, point defense drones will let that happen. But if he uses auto turrets, they'll do a super amount of damage against anything on the field, like air or ground. Mm-hmm. And again, there's always secret missiles, but, you know, that's whatever.
One gas. Just one.
One, you know what? Like, I actually don't think you can repair anything he currently has with one gas, because it takes a percentage of the cost, and everything costs with one gas. Okay, he is getting a little bit of mining, but well, I mean, the snipe's a snipe. Do what you can. Svindar, thank you for the 17-month resub. Again, I feel the people who are winning out most out of this series, though, is Masa. It's not even like Snute or Ryung advances forward, and that's great. They stay in the tournament, they don't stay in the tournament. But every minute that passes by, Rogue has to wait longer to play, and it is like 4 a.m. in Korea at this point.
Ryung owes him dinner or something.
Right? Also, shout out to the fact we hit 10k viewers. How awesome is that?
Woohoo!
Snute and Ryung with that hype. Now, Snute is starting to converge. It is so scary, though. Like, 8 Vipers. 8 Vipers don't even need to get amazing parasitic bombs. They just need to get some. And Ryung has no ghosts. Oh, sorry, excuse me. He does have 4, but they're not here. They're going back home to deal with the ultras, so they're not gonna have the EMPs to zone this out.
Ryung is just army supply not bad, but army composition is going to be once again difficult to utilize against Snutes. He has to be aware of, you know, not letting another fight like that happen. Hopefully splitting a little bit more. Every single time he goes back to defend and alerts Snute as to where his army is and where it's clumping is where those fungals and vipers are going to try and catch them.
So, we got some debate going in chat about how broken Parasitic Bomb is or isn't. I just want to point out, guys, like, if you don't split your Zerg army, Secret Missiles are just as bad. Secret Missiles, for a long time in Heart of the Swarm, are notorious for being these stupidly OP things. So, that looked bad in that situation, but that's not because the unit design was terrible. I've got problems with Parasitic Bomb, don't get me wrong, I'll be the first one to call bullshit. But that was Ryung stacked. Like, there's just no reason he should have been clumped like that in the first place. But yeah. I do bring back the fact that Snute, for 30 minutes in this game, hid his Vipers. He hid that there was 11 Vipers in play, and Ryung didn't know.
That is true. You know, he might have been okay with maybe getting fungled like that, which you shouldn't be, but maybe he was. But he didn't anticipate all the parasitic bombs coming down like it did. It's like... It's so funny because he also had that like cautionary nuke that cleared up creep, remember? I thought he was going to be so careful. Yeah. He was going to like slowly encroach on nukes before sending his army forth, and then instead he just moved. Like, it was so bizarre. I mean, I'm sure like Ryung is also Korean. Like, the same way that Rogue's going to start off really tired, Ryung is getting really, really tired, and I'm sure that certainly affected his decision making and just being like, this sounds like a good idea, whoops, type deal that we've all had. Sleep deprived, but still, that was a huge mistake. It's if he makes again, that's definitely game over. He does not have
bombs coming down on top of the Vikings. Does pull one back. He doesn't over dedicate to these. Of course, Snute does hit with the EMP, makes it a little bit difficult. But with the EMP going down on top of the Vipers, there's nothing to stop the Infestors from coming in. And of course, the Queens will just kind of chip away at the Vikings that are forced to stay in place.
Oh, he doesn't have any medevacs. He has one medevac.
Ultra, please.
No, never. If he got medevacs, I could see him just roaming around the map. But,
yeah, Snoot's army is slow and immobile, but
yeah. He has 3/3 adrenal gland lings that actually do a nice job against, you know, no medevac units.
I mean, Lings are gonna win this game. Lings, okay, well that's gonna get charged back. I'm pretty positive. We're not gonna read that out. Thank you, guy, for being a prick. Also, this is I mean, Lings will win this game. I feel Lings are just, he's got 5k minerals he can put into Lings if he wants to, and Marauders won't stop that. Marines without medevacs won't be able to take these fights.
Exactly.
Base here goes down. Liberators get back. They'll shoot this, but this also might be like, hey, Snute, there's nothing really defending that bottom right base, man.
Well, he brought most of his attacking units, yeah, to this, so Vipers and Fungals can only do so much.
These are the games of StarCraft 2 I love, by the way, because we don't get these often. Like, the rarity that is this late game takes such good play from 2 players. A lot of the times, these games end 18 minutes in, 17 minutes in. Like, you know, Ravager all-ins, bad control from Zerg, getting blasted away by tanks. The fact that we've even gotten to 35 minutes is a bit of a testament to both players, in all seriousness.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when we went into this, we stated as to why this would be an even best of 5 and probably go to the ace match, but I really did not anticipate it going to late game, especially late game like this, because no one really wants to be playing air mech in a situation like this. Like, maybe if you surprise your opponent, we've seen Gumiho been doing that in Lair Lac Crest, but Ryung almost felt forced into it, and is not doing so hot with it.
Yeah, Planetary is like the best thing standing right now. The Banshees are slowly starting to clean a lot of this up. Picks up in the medevac. Yoink! But Orbital started burning and Orbital started dying. And while right now that's not such a big deal, Ryung is just not replenishing any of the supply he's losing, and that's where this game becomes really a big problem. The only mining base really available getting shut down as we speak. The Planetary is about to die. Whoosh.
We thought this was going to be a shorter day, I want to remind you.
Yeah, we scheduled Overwatch time, which I still want to do, but I think we'll get lunch in between. Stupid drones! What could you possibly want drones for? I guess more static defense, maybe? Like,
hey, he's got a brand new base.
Oh, excuse me. Excuse me.
Yeah, excuse you.
What is actually for static defense, though, but still, you know, whatever.
Oh, gosh. Balance complaints still going on in chat.
Ah, let them complain. Let them be passionate. It's good to see people talking about this dead game in the first place, am I right?
Yeah.
No, I love StarCraft 2, guys.
That's a 70 supply difference. This is not that hopeful, like, well, you know, Ryung is 20 supply down. Like, that's not so bad. And he's not on mining anymore either, and the creep has just been consistent from Snutes, reproducing all those queens that he's lost, and Ryung has no hope.
Alright, I'm feeling at this point, Ryung, okay, hear me out, guys. Good guy Ryung, he knows his number he's licked here, but he wants to out Masa the best he can. So he says, if I can't be the Terran that gets through, I'll make sure that my Canadian counterpart does by stalling as long as possible. Oh, even the starport's good. Like, this is what's killing me. You know, Ryung's kind of like at this point of just disparity when nothing's being lifted. Like, orbital starports, everything's been dying to this slowly. There's 4 SCVs remain at this point. There's absolutely no mining going on. He's out of gas. He can't repair even the planetary. Oh, he can't repair the planetary. This is actually going to burn down over time because he has no gas to repair the planetary fortress.
You can start building, like, refineries on these bases that have been used yet, just a long-distance mine on gas. You can't get a command center over there. Creep is blocking it.
This is amazing. It's amazing.
Well, it's dead. Ryung is so dead.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh my god, it's Edward for the 10-month resub. Good time to stim. Ryung could use one right now. Creep Tomb Raider is actually straight up blocking the base, and the funny thing is, that's only one Banshee that can clean this up. Yeah, 2, excuse me. The Liberators can't shoot down on buildings.
Well, if Ryung's gonna have his army off to the left, Snoot's gonna be attacking to the right once again and probably take out that planetary.
He probably didn't realize this was burning. Like, he's like, oh, Ryung, why didn't you repair this? Not realizing his opponent is completely out of gas.
Maybe. I mean, you don't really look at gas guys while they are blinking red. If this was Brood War, I'd say he'd be able to repair that. I'm just throwing it out there, alright? Never fully depleted gas geysers hype.
Oh yeah, didn't you mine like one at a time or something like that?
Yeah, I wonder why they changed that.
Oh god, can you imagine how many terrible games would be like even worse if that was the case?
Oh, a lot of the Mass Raven, Mass Swarmos games.
Lily Cadine.
Like, holy shit.
Like any Lily Cadine game from the last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing that they changed it, but it's interesting that they did. This almost feels like a bait. Whenever I see Corruptors, if I'm Ryung right now, I just anticipate Fungals and Vipers behind it. But he's trying to respond. He's trying to save his bases, even though they're not of any use. Like, they have a couple minerals. So he could max out on Marines.
This is very much similar to the old Reina game. It's that slow bleed out. You know it's going to be over, but Ryung just holding on with what little he has, what little he can.
Gotta go that Gumiho path, you know, and just try and kill all its overlords. And
Fight to the last, Zombie Grub! If you were Terran, if this was the edge of the universe, and you know that you're going to die, you fight to the last!
The universe is round. I'm just kidding.
How can the universe be round if the Earth is flat?
Oh god, there's the
there we
fumbles,
go.
there's the parasitic bombs. GG.
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 Oh my god, I didn't expect it, but we're gonna have a foreigner semifinal, Snute versus Mana. And Snute does take down the series. He knocks out Ryung and he locks his place down in that semifinals match. Nathanius donates $5 just as the game ends, and he says, Terran used to be great. Secret missiles cost 100 energy. PDDs were tremendous. Now Protoss are amassing Tempest versus our Liberators, and Vipers with Airbola are laughing at our air fleets. Laughing! Let's make Terran great again!
Thank you to, someone donated to me personally. Thank you very much for the $5. Oh dear. Oh dear. I'm gonna try to get Rogue and Masa, of course, ready to go, but Rogue's probably falling asleep at a desk. And I don't know where Masa is.
Yeah, Masa might be watching the stream chilling. I will poke him. I don't have him on friends list, actually. I'll go poke him on Twitter. And we'll try and get this final best of 5 going here ASAP, guys. It's been a fantastic day. It's been great games. One second. Hey, log on, please. Time for vetoes. But yeah, this will be the last match today. Rogue versus Masa, TvZ. But a word from our sponsors. So stick around and we'll see you guys soon. Because none of this would be possible without TING.